What's up, duelists? Welcome to the first of many Friday streams. I mean, I've streamed on Fridays before, but the first regular Friday stream. Hope everyone's doing well. Chatters are assembled in chat right now. We have a couple of things to do today. It's going to be a fun stream. It's going to be slightly shorter than usual. I think we have to end like an hour early. Because I actually have to play in a Master Duel tournament that I've been participating in over the last couple of weeks. We have a T2 Trials match at 4 p.m. And I would stream it, but it's a 3v3 tournament, and I don't want there to be a chance that my team is impacted by me streaming the thing. So I think what I'll do, it will be streamed though. So I think I'll just go ahead and raid the person that's streaming it, so that you can watch it. You know, like you can watch if you feel like it at 4. But yeah. Anyways, we're doing a whole bunch of different things today. We have some announcements from Konami regarding Doom of Dimensions. We got some rarities. We got some new what's it called? We got some new RB cards. We have some other new cards announced, and then we're just gonna jump into some current format discussions. You know, I wanna take a look at the current TCG format before we jump into Doom of Dimension format as well. And we will talk about a potential ban list that they may or may not make, as well as just in general. I think I want to do like a non-engine discussion, because that's the thing I haven't done yet for the current format, and so on and so forth. I'll tell you more about that once we're done with the warm-up. What rarity were Fleur-de-Lis and Ferrijit? Heard they are high rarity. We have to check. I don't remember all of it off the top of my head. I was watching the reveal stream yesterday, like just a little bit. I forgot it was happening, so I didn't tune in right when it started. So I tuned in like towards the end. But I don't remember all the rarities. We'll look at it. Yeah, there was a live stream from Konami, like it was like 30 minutes, just revealing some stuff regarding Doom of Dimensions, which is I think what they usually do. But yeah. All right. Before we hop into the warm up, Bomba Atomica, thank you for the 35 months. Damien, forget the lyrics, thank you for the 23. Tebow, thank you for the 26. Lots of people with very large amounts of months in terms of the sub numbers. I appreciate you for the long time support. I'm glad you're enjoying the content for this long. Let's warm up. They revealed most secrets. We can count it, but I don't remember off the top of my head, unfortunately. But I know some of the cards they revealed were secrets. I don't know how many. I think this is a Gen X, maybe Blast fan. Long shot? No. It is a Gen X though. R Gen X Turbo. R Gen X. I'm skipping. I don't know it. I know it's a Gen X. Turbine. Damn it. That was a minute wasted. This gives me Nouvelle vibes. But Angry Burger? No. Chef's special recipe. Okay. We have 0 points and we're 1.5 minutes in. What a great start. This feels somewhat familiar. It's like Gusto Squirrel? Yeah. All right, we're on the board. We got points. That is Mirage Dragon, I think. Yeah. No, we can save this still. We can save this. This is Spiritual Water Art. That is Cash Tira Birth. Oh, Gumblar, right? Hmm. I realized that a little bit too late what that was. That might be another. Is that like Starry Night? But I'm not very good with those. It's not even that. Okay, it's a Dream Mirror. I've never seen anyone even attempt to play Dream Mirror. Mask of Restrict. That is the yellow Adignister. Hikari is the red one. Is it Picari? Oh, my bad. Which one is the red one? Reflect Bounder. Oh, Achichi. Okay, my bad. My bad. I believe that is Crystal Beacon. No. Crystal. There's a lot of them. I don't know. I've seen it though. I feel like Crystal Release. Harmonic Oscillation. Okay. Pendulum something is that's what I thought, but like good thing I didn't try that, I guess. Dude, stop giving me. Is this Duelists thingy? Duelist Alliance? Yeah. Stop giving me like little swinging pendulums. Ooh. Robin Zombie, I think. Is that one of the magician girls? Not sure. It might be. I think it is. Kiwi? Could be. Oh. Gives me super heavy samurai vibes, but I have no idea which one that would be. Gloves? Giga Gloves. That's a fitting name. I feel like I've seen this card. It's not Champion's Vigilance though. Fiery Favor. Fiery Fervor. Okay. I take that back. I don't think I've seen that card. Probably a Signet card. It's not Signet mining. Packet Link. Okay, good thing I didn't try Signet. Can I get some easy ones? I don't know who you are. Extra Sword. Bro, can I see the card? Wait, who is this? I thought it was the background. What is this called? Red Potan? Okay. Oh, Zen Mighty. Ancient warrior, right? Surely. Maybe not. No, that's not an ancient warrior. Element Saber Makani. Dude, today's bad. We were in fact not able to save it. Liberty at last. That is DD Sprite. Dude, Synchro, is that Synchro Cracker? No. But it is Synchro something. Synchro Material? Synchro what? That's literally what the card is called. Chain Energy. Oh, that's Catch. Catch Eve. Feels familiar. Yeah, DD Crazy Beast. Could be Goblin's Crazy Beast. No, it's DD Crazy Beast. I don't know. Link Hole. Miracle Synchro Fusion. Yeah. Karakuri, I think the barrel. Yeah. The burn spell, Hinotama? Ooh, Dino Mist? Yeah, Binos. No. Red. It's something Red Dragon Archfiend related. I don't know. I thought it was Red Vessel. Red Dragon Vase. That's what. Celestia. That is Sprite Sprint. Is that Deus Ex Crawler? Please? No. Ah, damn it. It is a crawler, though, I think. Nah. It was not Glial. Crawler Receptor. It did not start with a G. It's one of the Hunters, I think. Pro Hunter? Ma Hunter. Ma Hunter. Okay. That is Pain Painter. Is that another Dream Mirror card? Damn. 2 Dream Mirrors in one run? This run was doomed to begin with. I had no chance. Ancient Elf. That is Champion's Vigilance. Is that Royal Decree? No. Oh, I have seen it though. Yeah. This little the golem dude, Millennium. Oh, the Millennium Golem OG. Right. I have no idea what this is. Battle Guard something. Battle Guard. It's not Howling. Oh, is it Skill Successor? Right. Golden Apple. It looks Bujin related. Orifun. I've never seen this. It's a wash day. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. The second half was better than the first half, but it was pretty washed. It was yeah. All right, yeah. Let it out. Call me Unk all you want. I can't defend myself. Oh, a rank 4 exceed. All right. A rank 4 exceed with low attack but high defense. What about Diamond Crab King? No, that is from 2015. It is not 2015. Low attack, high defense, not a dark. Rank 4. Rank 4, low attack. Malice Whitebinder. Good guess. Very good guess, but I don't think that's it. Rafflesia. Could be Rafflesia. Is not even higher defense than 2500. Dude, what's a rank 4 with like 3000 defense? It's not Crab King. I already looked at Crab King, but Crab King is 2015. Wonky Quartet. That is Earth, and it's not an Earth. But that does have 2600 defense. Rilliona? Who? I guess it might be relevant now because it's a Magistus, but they don't play this one usually, do they? You can detach a material from this card, special summon a Magistus monster from your deck. Also, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck. Except Magistus. While this card's equipped to a monster, you can target an effect your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Okay. You play it in Pure? There's Pure Magistus? Is Pure Magistus a thing now if we get Spoon? Or nah? Because I've never seen anyone play Pure Magistus. Yes? Ooh, okay. I mean, I'm not saying like it needs to be like the best deck or anything. I'm just saying like, is it something you can reasonably play and it's like not terrible? Yes, Chassis Catton tried 2 days ago. Okay, if Chassis Catton played it, then it's gotta be somewhat viable, right? All right, let's do the Matrix thingy. All right, okay, the title for today is Justice Hunters, so I assume that it's the easy answer is gonna always be it's gonna be Justice Hunters archetype related. Level rank Link 5, Beast, Synchro, or Link. So we can literally name any Link 5. Okay. So we need a rank 5 Beast, a level 5 Synchro, or any Link 5. Let's not go for a Link 5 because there's not that many Link 5s. Let's go for some random ass level 5 Exceed or Synchro that no one goes for. Let's go like Digvorzak or some shit. I don't even know how to spell it. Oh, wait, am I stupid? I am stupid. We're not looking for a rank 5 Exceed. I got thrown off because it said rank 5. Okay, never mind. Synchro 5 is what we have to go for. Good start. I have a solution for this problem, by the way. All you have to do is click refresh, and then your mistake has never happened. What's like the most random ass level 5 synchro? X-Saber. X-Saber. What's the level 5 X-Saber called? They have a level 5 synchro that like never saw. Wayne. Bam. 2%. Not too bad. Dragon or Spellcaster? Okay, what is a Dragon or Spellcaster level rank Link 5 that no one would really go for? Y'all, is Curse of Dragon a level 5 or a level 6? Curse of Dragon is a level 5. But I don't like how when I said Curse of Dragon, at the same time someone in chat said Curse of Dragon, which implies that people are thinking of Curse of Dragon when they're thinking of level 5 dragons, which is not what I want because you're trying to get something that no one else is saying. So now I want to go for something else. Level 5 dragon or spellcaster? Wonder Magician? Wonder Magician is a good call. Let's go for TG Wonder Magician. 1%. All right, good call. Good call. Has a quick effect. Level rank Link 5. Okay, any level rank Link 5 with a quick effect. And we're trying to do something... Yeah. Ooh, Wonder Magician would have been a good call there too. I think Wonder Magician was a good call down there as well. Pleiades? Ooh, I like that. I like Pleiades. 8% though. A little more popular answer. Okay. A beast, a synchro, or a link that mentions fusion summon or Xyz summon. The first thing I'm thinking of is Proxy F Magician, right? That's a link that mentions fusion summon. Guardian Chimera is like super obvious. Let's go with Proxy F Magician. It's probably not going to be that. 22%. Oh my god. Actual NPC answer, and I thought I was smart. All right, not good. Not good. Dragon or Spellcaster that mentions fusion summon or Xyz summon. Dragon or Spellcaster. Cartesia, but there's no way Cartesia is a good answer. Crowley Crowley the gifted Magistus, yeah. What's a dragon that mentions fusion summon? Surely there is. Albaz? Yeah, but like there's no way Fallen of Albaz is like a good answer here. Mululu? Yeah, but like guys, the goal here is not to try and find an answer, because finding an answer is easy, but I'm trying to find an answer that no one else has said. Azamina LZ? Ooh. What about the light and sublimation dragon? 2%. All right, that's good. Has a quick effect and mentions fusion summon or Xyz summon. Dryden. Easy. All right. Okay. A beast, a synchro, or a link that mentions reveal or show. A beast, a synchro, or a link that mentions reveal or show. Oh. You can go danger. Which danger is a beast? Jackalope, right? Yeah. Dogman. All right, let's go Danger Dogman. No one thinks of Danger Dogman. It's not a beast. I've been lied to. I've been lied to. What is Danger Dogman? Beast Warrior? Damn it. Gladiator Beast Gistel? Dude, that's crazy. 5%? I thought that was going to have like a flat 0. All right, a dragon or spellcaster that mentions reveal or show. A dragon or a spellcaster that mentions reveal or show. Yeah, I know we can do Caesar Valius. Yes. Yes, we can do Vanquish Soul Caesar Valius, but like I don't know. Broomy? Broomy? Let's go Broomy 1%. How did you think of Broomy? Has a quick effect. Okay. Every Vanquish Soul. Okay, let's go for the Vanquish Soul that no one picks. Easy. What was the 13% went for Pluton? That's crazy. Dude, I didn't even think 13% of Yu-Gi-Oh players know that this card exists. Why is it? Dude, I think low-key Pluton is so high because it's the first one. It's the first Vanquish Soul you think of when you're trying to think of a Vanquish Soul that no one else is thinking of. So like everyone is trying to metagame, and therefore everyone is taking Pluton. That's crazy. Imagine being the Vanquish Soul that everyone thinks of when they're trying to think of a Vanquish Soul that no one knows. Caesar is 2%. Dude, I should have gone... You know why I should have gone Caesar? Is because a lot of people probably picked Caesar up here, so they couldn't pick Caesar down here. Like Caesar... Yeah, okay. Nah, dude, I metagamed myself. All right, well. That's all right. That's all right. Okay. With the warm-up out of the way, welcome to the Friday stream, everybody. Hope everyone had a great week. And here we are. The thing for today is, first of all, I woke up hella late today, so I still haven't even had breakfast. And I have it in front of me, so I'm going to have to eat it at some point. But today, we are doing a mix of things. We are talking about some new cards first and foremost, and some news from Doom of Dimension. because there was a release stream yesterday regarding Doom of Dimension from Konami, and there is not that many new cards, but mostly it's rarities that we know now from the new set, as well as we have the new RB cards as well that they announced on stream. So we're gonna see if that has any impact on the metagame, as well as we have new Dark Lord cards to take a look at later from Burst Protocol. After that, I just want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the current TCG format. We're going to have some discussions regarding non-engine cards in the current format, like hand traps and board breakers and stuff like that. Like, how are these positioned in the current format? We're going to make a tier list as well, just discussing the current format. We're going to talk a little bit about the deck I want to play for regionals tomorrow as well, because I haven't quite decided yet. I want to discuss like the pros and cons that I see in the different decks for the current format a little bit for myself as well to consider. And then I also want to sprinkle in some Banlist talk later, because I feel like we are in a weird spot right now with the TCG, right? Like in terms of just the Banlist. The format is fine, but the Banlist situation is a little weird, because on the one hand, there was no Banlist in the TCG for a long time now, and they did announce no ban list until after Worlds, and now it is after Worlds, but we haven't gotten one since. Like, Worlds is now, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago, so we haven't gotten a ban list yet. So everyone is like, so will we get one? Will we not get one? At the same time, we are in a position where we've just gotten a bunch of new decks that they probably won't hit on the ban list, right? They're probably not really going to hit Yummy, Dracotail, K9, but like the format could still use some like, you know, there's some cards that everyone can name that probably need to be banned. And we have some important events coming up. You know, we have some important events coming up, and I'm out here wondering, should I just prepare for YCS Lille that is happening in 2 weeks at this point? Should I be preparing for YCS Lille under the assumption that we're not getting a ban list, or should I, like, you know, is there going to be one? So I don't know. I really don't know if we are going to get a ban list, but we're going to discuss it regardless. First, let's hop into Doom of Dimension. And now we're going to look at the new RB cards last. The first thing I want to touch on is some of the rarities that they have announced. We're not going to read all of these cards, because I have read all of these at some point already, and all of that is somewhere on the Plus channel. Like, if you, for example, if you want my initial reaction to the DDD cards, I'm pretty sure you can find it on the Plus channel by just looking at like JUSH, DDD, whatever, like, you know. But they have announced that the cover card of the set is going to be an ultra rare, which is DDD Dimensional King Arc Crisis. So that is going to come in ultra rare, and I assume also in Starlight, if that's the case, because I think every ultra and secret will still be a Starlight. So we've got the DDD as an ultra rare, as well as DDD Sky King Zeus Ragnarok. The new Link 3 is going to be our first secret rare. I'm going to, let me quickly on the second screen, I'm just really quickly taking note of all the secret rares in the set, so we know. Then Bramble Rose Dragon is going to be a secret rare. Judging from the OCG results so far, I think both the Zeus Ragnarok as well as the Bramble Rose Dragon are not going to be super high value chase secret rare cards, which is a little bit unfortunate. Like, I think if you're going to pull these, I don't know how happy you're going to be. I have seen some hype around the new DDD support. I mean, it might just be it's a very low sample size, but out of the people at my locals, there are some people who are excited about the new DDD cards, so I don't know. And then the Goki stuff is all, I think, low rarity, which is probably good. We have some Doom Z announcements, and Doom Z is getting a decent amount of secret rares, which is to be expected. They are basically getting the Archmage treatment here for Doom Z, because Doom Z is the next lore archetype, Duelist Advanced 2.0. It's a very fair point. Like, this set really feels a lot like Duelist Advance in this regard, right? Like we have a couple of individually strong cards in this set. Like in Duelist Advance, there were cards like Holy Sue, or cards like Luna Light Gold Leo, or Sky Striker Ace Zero. Like there were some good cards in Duelist Advance, but like the bulk of this set, as well as Duelist Advance, was like more like tier 2 territory on release, right? And that's usually it's good for the people that buy singles. It's not good for the people that open the product, because like Archmage, Doomsday, this sort of stuff like doesn't really carry the value of the set in the beginning, at least, you know. And that's the problem. It's like there's a possibility still. The things that I said about Archmage are basically the same thing I'm going to say about Doomsday now. Is like these cards have the potential to be extremely strong in the future, but we simply don't know that yet. And as a result of that, these cards are kind of going to be lingering in that area where they're not going to be like dirt cheap, because they could be good at some point, but they also they're not going to be like chase cards, because they're not good yet, right? They have potential, basically, because they are a lower archetype, and those tend to get support, but we simply don't know. But Doomsday is going to get multiple secret rares. We have Doomsday Zero Drastea is going to be a secret rare. Doomsday and Drastrius is going to be a secret rare. The new Power Patron is going to be an ultra rare, which annoys me a little bit, because with Archmage they made the Power Patron a secret, but alas. Then we have Doomsday 5 Amalfi as an ultra rare. And that's it for now. So that's, what is that? 2 secrets for Doomsday and 2 ultras. There's more Doomsday cards than this though, right? Don't they also have a field spell? Or am I tripping? Maybe they didn't have a field spell. Maybe I'm misremembering. Is this all of the Doomsday cards? Is there really only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Nah, there's more. There's more Doomsday cards than that. So maybe they just didn't announce all of them. But yeah. But I guess the most important thing out of yesterday is not the rarities, but just the new RB cards. So we finally will have an answer if the RB cards are going to step into the footsteps of Mitsurugi as the next really good TCG exclusive archetype, or if they end up where usually the TCG exclusive archetypes end up, which is not so good decks. I will say I personally have picked up the RB cards from Duelist Advance simply because they were very, very cheap. And I was like, you know, why not? Like the entire RB core was probably like $10 or something, or $15. And so I decided to pick it up just in case, but we'll see. I will say the chances for RB are definitely lower than they were for Mitsurugi, because the Mitsurugi cards were pretty strong even in the first wave. But of course, custom cards like Habakiri could definitely save RB. Let's see it. We have RB Lambda Cannon, an ultra rare over here, which is a level 6 Dark Machine. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can target an RB monster in your graveyard, except RB Lambda Cannon, add it to your hand. While this card is linked to an RB monster, you can pay 1200 life points, destroy this card, and if you do, look at your opponent's hand, then you can special summon a monster from it to their field, but negate its effects. You can only use each effect of RB Lambda Cannon once per turn. Okay. Can someone explain to me why that effect makes sense in RB? Like, why are we looking at the opponent's hand and then special summoning a monster from it? Like, what does that have to do with RB? That effect, by the way, that effect is not bad. Looking at your opponent's hand and then taking out a monster from it is pretty good. It reminds me of Dirty Rat, which is a Hearthstone card that used to do something similar, but without looking at the hand. It would just pull out a random monster from your opponent's hand, which was a good way to like disrupt combo decks. But Genuinely, I think this card I would consider this a decent card if it wasn't a level 6. Because this thing, you just can't really, you can't special summon itself, which I think is yeah, Aqua Dolphin is a good like comparison to. The ability to look at your opponent's hand and then take a monster away would be good, and then also it gives you recursion on summon, so it's not actually a terrible effect. It's just the problem is that it's not a normal summon. So like I'm gonna have to find a way to special summon it, which I thought all the RBs, the previous RBs, all had an effect to special summon themselves, right? Whereas this one, you have to find another way to special summon it, which maybe there are easy ways to do that. So okay, all right. RB Lambda Blade, level 7 Dark Machine, 1400. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can send an RB card from your deck to the graveyard, except Lambda Blade. During your opponent's main phase, if this card is linked to an RB Link monster, quick effect, pay 1400, target a monster your opponent controls, destroy this card, and if you do, take control of that monster, but destroy it during the end phase. You can only use each effect of RB Lambda Blade once per turn. Okay, another high-level monster that does not have an effect to special summon itself. I also don't really remember if RBs had something with a great graveyard effect. So like, was that something? Is the sending a card from deck to grave, is that any good even? The interruption effect here is solid. The being able to steal a monster is not bad. But I'm just like, this is a direction that I really didn't want this deck to go, because what I'm seeing here, and I'm already afraid of reading the next one, because I'm seeing a level 6, a level 7, and a level 8. And so far, the level 6 and the level 7 have no way to special summon themselves. So that just seems like the perfect recipe for bricking. Okay, level 8. RB God 10 Pile Bunker. If you control no face-up monsters... Oh, okay, this one can special summon itself. Okay, at least. Whew. If you control no face-up cards, or the only face-up monsters you control are RB monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon it once per turn this way. When an attack is declared involving an opponent's monster and an RB Brute boost that points to this... Okay, I feel like we can stop reading there, but... You can pay 1500 life points to destroy all cards your opponent controls and this card. You can only use this effect of Pile Bunker once per turn. Okay. At least it can special summon itself. So I feel like even though this effect is probably the least relevant, because it's going to be the hardest one to pull off, because it only involves, like, you know, battle and attacking. At least this one is like a generic machine extender, but still... yeah. I don't know. This does not feel like... But okay, we still have 4 more cards. We have 4 more cards. Maybe there's some custom stuff coming. RB Shepherd's Crook, Link 3 Dark Machine, 1500 attack, 2+ monsters including an RB monster. Gains 500 attack for each monster you control except this card. You can only use each of the following effects once per turn. During your main phase, you can set an RB trap from your deck or grave. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can target 3 level 3 or higher RB monsters in your grave. Place 2 on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, special summon the other in defense position. Okay. Dude. I feel like this this would feel pretty high quality for me if it was a Link 2. On a Link 3, this feels a little bit heavy in terms of the investment. But we'll see, I guess. Is there... I forget, was there already a trap card for RBs? I don't think so, right? So they must be getting a trap card in this set. Okay, which is not good. I'm telling you right now, the fact that we're getting trap cards is not something I was like. This is not what I wanted for this deck, but okay, sure. RB Operation Test. Oh, 2 trap cards too? Jesus. Okay, RB Operation Test, continuous spell card. When this card's activated, target a level 3 or higher RB monster in your grave, special summon it. You can target any number of RB monsters you control, gain life points equal to their combined original attack. If you do, return them to the hand extra deck. They can special summon an RB monster from your hand. You can only use this effect of Operation Test once per turn. You can only activate 1 Operation Test per turn. This card is basically a worse version of Will of the Salamangreat. because it can only revive on activation, which I have no idea why you don't make it like once per turn you can revive one. That would not be too powerful. But nothing here. That's the most frustrating part here. Nothing so far. And there's 2 trap cards coming up, so I don't assume this is going to change. But nothing here is even close to resembling a starter card. Nothing. There's nothing. Nothing here is consistency. Nothing is a starter. This is all... This second wave is ridiculous. Okay, let's read the trap cards. I will say the trap cards are probably necessary at this point because RB end board like doesn't really do anything. But yeah. Why would we need to start? That implies we're going somewhere. I mean, okay, sure. I guess if you're playing RB, you're already not really trying to build a good board. So whether you break or not doesn't really make the biggest difference, I suppose, is what you're trying to say, which you do have a point. RB Last Stand. Normal trap card. Special summon an RB monster from your deck, extra deck, or graveyard with a different name than the cards you control. For the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, cannot special from the extra deck except machines with 15 or less attack. When your opponent activates a card effect that targets an RB monster you control, you can banish this card from your grave, negate that effect. You can only use 1 effect per turn, only once that turn. Okay, so it's a trap card that special summons an RB from your extra deck, which is probably what you're going to do most of the time. Or, I mean, this is okay. The trap card is okay because you can tag out. This gives you a disruption, right? Like you can summon out this if you want to summon something from the graveyard. You can summon out the Pile Bunker if you want to steal a monster. There's like, you know, you can summon out Lambda Blade to destroy a monster. No, Lambda Blade is the one that steals. Never mind. Lambda Blade is the one that steals. But they had one that pops a monster as well. So, okay. But there's already Stage Landing. Yeah, but I feel like they've made a big mistake on Stage Landing, which completely ruined the entire gimmick of RBs for me, which is that Stage Landing is the field spell, right? Stage Landing is the field spell, I think. That says like when one of your RBs is destroyed, you can summon one from the deck, but that effect is once per turn, which I think is not a good idea. I think the gimmick, in my opinion, the Funk Dog is the field spell. Oh, okay, then Funk Dog. Never mind. Scrap what I just said. Apply it all to Funk Dog. Funk Dog, in my opinion, was the perfect way to give this deck an identity and an end board. Because let me pull up Funk Dog real quick. RB Funk Dog. So RB Funk Dog. When this card is activated, add an RB card from your deck to your hand except Funk Dog. Blah, blah, blah. If a face-up RB monster you control leaves the field by card effect, you can special an RB monster from your deck. You can only use this effect once per turn. I think if they leave out this once per turn clause on Funk Dog, I think the deck actually could have been designed as a functional Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Because then the gimmick is basically you build your own robot with like your equipments to it, right? You have your equipments next to your Link monster, and then you use one of them, destroy, like let's say you have Lambda Blade next to your Link monster. You use Lambda Blade, destroy it to take your opponent's monster, and then the field spell triggers to tag into another equipment, right? And then you make like 3 or 4 equipments that all do something like in terms of interruption, and then you have a functional strategy, right? Like then you can cycle through your equipments and get a solid amount of interruptions that way, right? And that I think could have worked as a deck. It has some downsides, of course, which is that if your opponent gets rid of your Link monster, it would have completely ruined the strategy. So I don't think it would have been too strong, but like the fact that this is once per turn just completely ruins the deck. I feel like it just, the deck doesn't make sense now. And now what we end up with is a deck that doesn't have a good end board. So what do they do to fix this problem that they've created themselves by making the field spell so bad? They print trap cards, which in no universe has printing trap cards ever saved like a deck that's trying to be like a combo deck, right? Like if I get it, make good trap cards for trap decks or whatever, right? Like that could work, but like for this, like how are trap cards gonna save RBs? Like that's not gonna happen. Okay, RB next phase, counter trap. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control an RB monster, destroy a monster you control, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do that, destroy that card, then gain 2,000 life points. You can only activate one next phase per turn. Yeah, sure. Both of these traps are solid interruptions, but the fact that we need those, I think, is not good for RB. Like, what I really wanted from this was like, I don't know. I feel like this could have worked out if the Funk Dock was, make it twice per turn, make it 3 times per turn, whatever. If you want to limit the amount of times they can do it, sure, but like once per turn just wasn't appropriate for this card. And then maybe make the equipments a little bit better, because like look, level 6 and level 7, no effect to special summon themselves, really. Like why on earth do these two not have this clause? Like why were these two not given the, if you control no monsters you can special summon them? Like what's the reason for that? Yeah, no, this is unfortunate. This is unfortunate. I don't know what to say about this other than I can hardly imagine a worse second wave for RBs. Like there's quite literally, I think, nothing here. The Link 3 is okay, but it nah. This is not it. Yeah. I can't even think of a way for the OCG to salvage this when they eventually get these cards and make like 1 or 2 extra RBs. I don't know, but all right. Disappointing. Don't think we're gonna see RBs at some point. Is Ashen better? Probably not. Ashen was also pretty bad, but honestly, nah. Maybe with the second wave, Ashen actually is better. I don't know. Mitsurugi having lower rarity is also funny. The second wave of Mitsurugi was nothing higher than super rare, right? With Habakiri and Mirror and stuff. Was there an ultra rare even in the second wave? The first wave had 2 ultra rares, but the second wave I think had none. Ashen and Tistina are worse than RB first wave for sure. Yeah, the first wave for RBs was okay, I think. The first wave of RB was like, okay, doesn't seem like super powerful, but if the second wave is good, then maybe. But the second wave ended up being the worst it probably could have been. Like, I find it hard to even think of a way to have made... They could have... The only way they could have made this even worse is if they made this one not have the special summon effect as well. But, yeah. Moving on. Oh, I forgot about these. The what was the original name of this archetype? The wind MST deck. It was Magnificestorm. Magnificestorm is now called Radiant Typhoon. Is the new name for it, which I thought Magnificestorm was kind of cool, but this one's also fine, I guess. They are getting 1, 2 ultras and a secret. Yeah, we got 2 ultras and a secret for the Radiant Typhoon deck, which is cool. I'm looking forward to this. There's also, I think there's some spells. The spells are still missing. They didn't show the spells in the announcement. But yeah, finally my runic support. And the Dogmatica is another secret rare. The Dominus card is a secret rare, to no one's surprise, which is, the Dominus card is another, I think, decent pull in this set. The Dominus Spiral is not going to see play immediately, I think, but it is a good card. So that is going to be something to look out for. Dogmatica is a secret. Tri-Brigade Arms Mauser, they only showed as a Starlight rare in the announcement. which means it is either Ultra or Secret. We don't know. It could be either, right? But that's the Doom of Dimension announcements. Here's some Burst Protocol stuff that could potentially be exciting because there is Dark Lord support in here. We have new Dark Lord cards, which I think Dark Lord as a deck is something that could eventually, like, they have some pretty good cards. Some Dark Lord cards are actually pretty good. So let's take a look at some of them. From Burst Protocol, we have Dark Lord Gulgalta, a level 6 Dark Fairy. You can only special summon Dark Lord Gulgalta once per turn. You can only use the second effect once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can special summon 2 Dark Lord tokens. Dark level 6/0/0. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except fairies. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add a Dark Lord card or Forbidden Quick Play spell from your deck to your hand except Dark Lord Gulgalta. Okay. You can add Forbidden Droplet, Forbidden Chalice, any of the other Forbidden's cards, okay, or any Dark Lord if this is sent to the grave. Okay. A little annoyed that this is a level 6. Which means that if you draw it, it won't do anything immediately. But that seems like a decent card. You can they have that one Dark Lord that discards itself and another card, right? Which is like it's like an Allure of Darkness for Dark Lords. It's like discard itself and another card and then draw 2 or something. Also, I think Dark Lord is also a fusion deck, right? So they might be able to just like fuse it away and then get the search. Seems like a good card. We have a level 4 Dark Lord Jehudi, Dark Fairy level 4. You can only use the first and second effect once per turn. If this card is if this card is normal or special summon, you can special a Dark Lord from your deck in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon for the rest of this turn except fairies. If you control a Dark Fairy Fusion monster, you can banish this card from your grave, then target a Dark Lord or Forbidden Quick Play spell in your grave, add it to your hand. Okay. Also, I just realized this card is also, it just happens to be like the perfect Droplet send as well. In a deck that probably wants to play Droplet because it can search it as well. This is just the perfect Droplet send, which is good. Yeah, okay. This gives Dark Lord something that I'm not sure they had much of this, which is just a good normal summon. The way maybe I'm yapping because it's been a while since I've actually seen anyone mess around with Dark Lords, but back then they didn't really have many normal summons. I feel like they started to usually play by like discarding from their hand and then reviving and stuff like that. This is a very high quality normal summon, right? Probably going to be their best one. I don't know if there's other great targets for it other than the first one, like, because, I mean, you are locked into fairies, but like, I imagine like you normal summon this, you special summon Dark Lord Gulgalta, and then you special summon 2 tokens, and then you can link it off into like, they have a link too, right? Is that good? Is it Condemned Dark Lord? The link to it is. Two fairy monsters. You contribute summon fairies that require 2 tributes by banishing 2 monsters from your grave instead. You can discard a card, take a Dark Lord from your deck, either add it to your hand or send it to the grave. Yeah. It's not like a insane card, but it's pretty solid. So like you go normal summon this one, special this one, make 2 tokens, link this one off and this one to make Condemned Dark Lord. Then you get a search for Gulgalta, and then you can discard one to further search or send, like, and you have 4 bodies on the field already. That's like a pretty solid line already. Look up Indulged Dark Lord. If this card is normal or special, you can take 2 Dark Lords from your hand or deck with different levels, special summon one of them to your opponent's field and add the other to your hand. Also, you cannot activate monster effects for the rest of the turn except fairies. Yeah, that's also decent. I don't know why we're giving a Dark Lord to the opponent, but surely we can do something with that. I've never seen this card, by the way. Well, okay. Sure. Lucifer, Dark Lord of the Evening Twilight. 2 level 6 or higher Dark Fairy monsters. Also, by the way, just bringing this up, this deck is going to have great synergy, I think, with the Fairy Fusion support from Duelist Advanced, right? Like, they had that, the TCG exclusive thingy with, it was the Mutiny in the Sky, the Yugioh, the Dusk Dawn or something, and the Fusion monster. Like, the cards that everyone thought were like BA support, that seems pretty good in this deck too. Well, okay. 2 level 6 or higher Dark Fairies. You can only use the first and third effect of this card's name each once per turn. If this card is fusion summoned, you can set a Dark Lord spell and a Dark Lord trap from your deck. Okay, casual +2. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target a Dark Lord spell traps, apply that effect when it's activated, and shuffle that target into deck. Ooh, that's a good card. That's a good card for Dark Lord. That is a really, really strong fusion. This is like the copying the spell traps in the graveyard is like Dark Lord's whole gimmick, right? But this card is good. Like Dark Lords have a bunch of really powerful spell cards that you can copy on your own turn, and then a bunch of really good trap cards that you can copy on the opponent's turn, right? So like, they have Banishment of the Dark Lord, which is just add a Dark Lord card from your deck to your hand. So they have a Rhoda, which is good. They have Dark Lord Contact, which revives one from the graveyard. They have a trap card that summons 2 from the graveyard. But that one probably doesn't see play. We have Dark Lord Enchantments, which is a snatch steal that you can basically you can set it with this. Then you activate it normally to take your opponent's monster. It goes to the graveyard, and then you can copy it again to steal another monster. They have Dark Lord Rebellion, destroys a card on the field. Uprising, ooh. Fusion Summon. Okay, they have a trap that fusion summons. They have the first Dark Lord, which I think can destroy all cards the opponent controls if you fuse it with Morningstar. I don't know if you're going to do that. But they also have a negate the effects of one effect monster on the field until the end of this turn. So you're going to have to play some trap cards in this deck. But those trap cards you can basically infinitely recycle and copy and duplicate, which is really powerful. The fusion is busted. Okay, Dark Lord Pleasure. Okay. Normal spell card. You can only activate 1 card with this card's name per turn. Fusion summon a Dark Fairy fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing its material from hand, field, and or graveyard. And if you do, it gains 1,000 attack. If summoning a Dark Lord monster this way, you can also use Dark Lord monsters your opponent controls as material. Oh! Okay, now this card makes a lot more sense. Now we are giving our opponent a Dark Lord, and then we're fusing it away for this thing. Okay, we can summon any Dark Fairy fusion monster in theory. This is just like a miracle fusion for Dark Fairies. So, yeah. And that's it. It is only 4 cards, but unironically, these cards are really good. Morningstar needs the opponent to control monsters too. Which one's Morningstar? Morningstar. Cannot be special summoned. If this card's tribute summoned, you can special Dark Lords from your hand or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. While you control another Dark Lord, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Once per turn, you can send this card from the top of your deck to the grave. You can send cards from the top of your deck to the grave. Honestly, I don't know if you're going to want to play this because it needs to be normal summoned. And I think you would really want to normal summon this. But yeah. These cards are sick. This is good stuff. And I think, like I said earlier, I think Dark Lord already has pretty decent card quality. Like, they already have a Rhoda, they already have a Reborn, they already have good interruption in terms of the trap cards, they already have Ixchel, which is a crazy card too. This card, and a Dark Lord card, draw 2. And then on the field, it also has the effect to copy Dark Lord spell traps in the graveyard. So Dark Lord is the kind of deck that really just needs consistency. And I feel like good normal summons are a good way to give this deck consistency, because a lot of it are just like high level monsters that you can't normal summon. So getting just a really good normal summon, this is a 0/0 by the way, so if you really want to, you can play like Piri Rise map for it, even though I don't know if that's a good idea because the Dark Lords pay a lot of life points, so Piri Rise map might not be viable. But like, this is good stuff. The new Dark Lord cards are holding Forbidden Lands and Forbidden Script. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen a picture of this earlier, where like this one is apparently related to Forbidden. What's the Forbidden book called? Forbidden. Is it Forbidden Scripture? And this one is holding Forbidden Lands. I think the only one that's missing is Forbidden Dress. Yeah, Forbidden Dress is missing. Well, okay. Good stuff for Dark Lords. Unironically, this deck is good. Opening of the Spirit Gates. Wait. Yeah, I think you're right. Opening of the Spirit Gates does search this, right? Or rather, Dark Beckoning Beast searches it, right? Or is that... Wait. No, that's Fiends. Never mind. It's not a Fiend. Oh, you got me hyped for a second. I got one guide. Yeah, no, they're not Fiends. They're not Fiends. Never mind. I got baited. Regardless, good stuff. Good stuff. I like this. Okay. Dude, I still haven't had my breakfast. I'm hungry. Hold up. Yugioh and Luce are also Fiends? Yes. Hold up. But... like Mutiny in the Sky was... It summons a Fiend or a Fairy, right? It summons a Fiend or a Fairy. And, Yugioh... Can Diviner send the guy to graveyard? I mean, yeah, you could go Diviner, send Gulgalta, and then get the search. That's a possibility. So this is also a Fiend? Yeah, maybe this is not that good then. You'd have to find a way to get it to the graveyard to search the Mutiny for free. But maybe you just play Mutiny in this deck. Condemned Witch is way better. Condemned Witch. Why? When this card is normal summoned, you can add a Forbidden Quick Play spell from your deck to your hand. During your opponent's main phase, tribute this card special level 4 from your deck. Like, sure, that's good on your opponent's main phase, but not really, like, I mean, yeah, sure, normal summon search droplet is not like terrible, but I don't think this is that good. I think you're probably gonna play Indulge Dark Lord and Dark Lord Jehudi as your normal summons. I think if you play both of these, that gives you like 6 normal summons that both trigger on normal or special summon. So I think that just makes sense. Or Diviner. Diviner could also be an option if you want more consistency. Despia Dark Lord is the move. It'd be very funny if people started playing Despia Dark Lord, because that's one of the best decks in Duel Links right now. I found out at I watched some Duel Links at Worlds, and like they just Despia Dark Lord is just like one of the best decks in Duel Links right now, which is funny. Oh, speaking of Duel Links, I know. Okay, can some of y'all do me a favor in Duel Links? Because they have a I thought Duel Links looked fun when I watched it at Worlds, so I opened it up again, and they have a crazy campaign code going on right now, like a campaign where you friend invite and stuff like that. Can someone who used to play Duel Links and hasn't played in a long time, can someone enter my code, because you get a Sky Striker deck. You get a Sky Striker deck when you do that. My code is in chat right now. Can someone do me a favor? If you still have Duel Links on your phone from like ages ago, can someone please enter my my code? I want a Sky Striker deck in Duel Links. Or like, I already have a Sky Striker deck in Duel Links, but you get a what's it called? You get Zeke, and I don't have Zeke. I want Zeke for my Sky Striker deck. Because I thought to myself, like, I want to potentially play Duel Links Stream Win. Probably not anytime soon, but like what I'm doing at the moment with Duel Links is I'm doing like my daily quests and stuff like that, just because I thought it would be very cool. Because I've played in TCG Worlds, I've played in Master Duel Worlds. I have played around with the thought of trying to qualify for Duel Links Worlds, just because I think it'd be really cool to be in all 3. So maybe what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just like grinding gems, because maybe next year I'll just play the Worlds qualifier for Duel Links. Maybe I'll stream that. Maybe it could be fun. Genuinely, Duel Links. The problem with Duel Links is just that getting the cards is such a nightmare, because Duel Links is like, playing Duel Links is actually kind of fun, and they actually do play real Yu-Gi-Oh right now, is what I found out. Like they actually do. It actually is Yu-Gi-Oh now. But yeah. The friend that enters the code gets the Galaxy deck and the Hero deck, but the invited friends gets the Striker deck as well. No. Because I hadn't played Duel Links for so long, I was also able to enter a code. So someone on my Discord server had posted their code for Duel Links, and I entered it, and I didn't get the Sky Striker deck. I only got the Hero deck and something else. I did not get the Striker deck. So I don't know exactly how it works, but I entered someone else's code and I did not get the Striker deck. So it has to be the other way around, right? So if someone from chat could enter my code, you get the Striker deck when you get invited? How though? I did enter someone else's code. Dude, I don't know. Just enter. If someone has Duel Links, do me a favor, enter my code. I'll see if I get the Striker deck. If not, then I guess I'll play Striker without Zeke for now. It's fine. I'll be okay. They need to reach stage 7 of the DM world. Well, yeah, but that takes like 10 minutes. Do you have linkage? Yeah. Promise us a Duel Link stream if you get Zeke. I mean, look, if people genuinely want to see me dabbling around in Duel Links, I don't mind. We can try it once. I don't care. Like during a period where I have some time and there's nothing to do in the other games, maybe. Chimera is in Duel Links? Yeah, dude, it won Worlds. Chimera is like almost full power. They got like they play like they got Shadol with a crazy skill. They have the Shadol skill is like if you go second and your opponent has a monster, you can like set a Shadol monster from your deck and you can immediately flip it. It's completely busted. But yeah, they have like almost full power Chimera too. Okay, so what we're doing now is doing some current format discussions. Two things I want to do for today is first things first, we're gonna take a look at the current format a little bit. We're gonna look at some deck profiles and what people are doing in the current format. But then I want to have a non-engine discussion with you guys because I have now started to play this format a decent bit more. I still feel like I still feel relatively new to Justice Hunters format because I've played a total of 4 tournaments now. But like, I'm starting to get an idea of what I like and what I don't like. So I feel comfortable giving my first impression on some of these non-engine cards like board breakers, hand traps, and stuff like that. So that's a discussion I want to have with you guys today. As well as I want to discuss whether the current format needs a ban list, whether we will, you know, we're expecting a ban list before Doom of Dimensions or like whatever. Like that's something I want to talk about. Yeah. TLDR ban Smasher. That is part of the discussion, yes. But first I need to finish my breakfast. So let's hop into some current format discussion. So right now, it feels like from my experience at regionals, this breakdown is pretty accurate. You have Vanquish Soul and Yummy in the top spots. I will say I personally have played against more Yummy than Vanquish Soul over the course of my 2 regionals, which is of course not the biggest sample size. I think it's 17 rounds total. But still, I think out of those 17 rounds, I played against 8 or 9 Yummies. So yeah. Can we have a look at Centauri's Draco Tail deck profile? The Goat Strikes Back. I already have it open in another tab. Don't worry. We are looking at Centauri's Draco Tail because he did win a regional with it undefeated. So yeah, Vanquish Soul in first, Yummy in second, Draco Tail in third, Crystron in fourth, and then we've got Malice and Mitsurugi in 5 and 6, which I guess begs the question already in advance of the banlist discussion later. Do Malice and Mitsurugi really warrant banlist hits in the position that they're in right now, right? I think that's a weird discussion to have. Because just from the power level at the moment, I would say like, or representation at least, everyone is playing the new decks. So like, and even though you know I don't like Malice, but like, do they really need to hit Malice and Mitsurugi Ryziel at the moment? I think personally, and I played against Malice, I played against Ryziel Mitsurugi at one of the regionals, and I'm not gonna lie to you, Ryziel Mitsurugi still felt powerful. I was a little surprised that like how strong it felt. Like I went first. I make my board and everything. It's like I get hit. I think I got hit with like a Droll and Lockbird, so I only made like half the board, and then they just start playing into it, and it's just like, bro, Habakiri X Trizial type hands. Like, oh my god, it's still really powerful. As well as Malice. Like I haven't played against Malice luckily at these two regionals, but there's still some Malice players in there performing. I think the reason why these numbers are still impressive for Malice and Mitsurugi, I think the thing you have to realize here is that 5.9% in terms of the tops, I think in relation to how little these decks are being played right now is still pretty crazy. Like what I'm trying to say is the conversion rate for Malice and Mitsurugi are pretty strong right now. Because I can tell you right now, there is, like, for example, we see 6% Malice, 13.8% Yummy, right? Which is roughly twice the amount of Yummies in top cuts, right? But I think representation-wise, Yummy probably has like a 3-to-1 or 4-to-1 advantage over Malice and Mitsurugi. Like, there's so many Yummies, right? But in terms of conversion rate, there's more Malice and Mitsurugi. Like, the Malice and Mitsurugis are doing very well compared to other decks, I think. At least that's how I'm feeling. Like I played against I played against 0 Malice at the 2 regionals. I played against 8 Yummies. So it's like it feels like there's way more Yummy than Malice, but Malice is still putting up like half the number of top cut spots. I think it's pretty good still. Oh. Yeah. Now, let's hear it from my goat, Steven Santoli, on how he has managed to make Draco Tail work at the regional he's been to. I will say, before we hop into the deck profile, just really quickly, my own considerations, because I am playing a regional tomorrow in Germany, in Stuttgart, in case you're attending. I'll see you there. I'm wondering what I should play for my regional tomorrow, because on the one hand, I was not happy with the consistency in Vanquish Soul K9. That was one of my issues at the 2 regionals I went to last weekend. Unfortunately, I got no points. I barely missed out on points at both regionals. I went X3 at both. And I felt like one of the reasons for that was the fact that I was bricking. Like I lost games, I lost matches because I just couldn't really play. And that was disappointing for me. So I'm not sure if I want to play Vanquish Soul K9 again. Even though I do think it is an option. So basically in my head right now for the regional tomorrow, I'm either going to play Vanquish Soul, but I'm going to put like Extravagance back into it. I'm considering Draco Tail because it's the deck I enjoy the most out of the current format. But I will say, if you've watched my locals gameplay from yesterday, you do know that with the Draco Tail deck, I still need some practice. I'm not perfect with it yet, so like I'm not sure if it's the best pick for me. I definitely think I can play Vanquish Soul better than I can play Draco Tail. And then I could, in theory, I think if you want to play a deck that gives you the best chances at like just getting some points, the best deck is probably Yummy. Because I think Yummy is a deck that probably never or rarely goes completely undefeated. Like there's probably going to be some games where someone has a solid engine hand and can just beat the Yummy board. But Yummy is like very consistent and can go like X1 or X2 pretty consistently. So I'm thinking like in theory, Yummy is a pretty good choice for me if I'm trying to do the points grind, because I'm not trying to win every single regional. I'm just trying to learn the format and I'm trying to walk away with some points. So that's why I'm thinking Yummy might be a solid choice. The problem is I literally have 0 Yummy games to my name, so I'm not really super well versed with Yummy myself. I've played against Yummy a lot, so I do kind of understand how it works, but I haven't played Yummy myself yet. So, but I probably should at some point, right? The question is just, do I want my first Yummy matches to basically be at the regional? But that's kind of where my head's at. So I am considering Draco Tail for tomorrow's regional. And if I do, then let's hear it from Steven Santoli, and let's see if I can get some some ideas here.
Hey guys, Santoli here. I managed to go 9-0 at Lansing, Michigan Regional, playing Draco Tail. I actually only lost one game throughout the tournament to Orcus Horus, because Horus cards are good, like I've been saying. But beyond that, I told everyone else. Relatively standard Draco Tail list. Few small changes in terms of hand traps. Overall, I think this deck's very good. I have a lot more success with it now and feel it's a lot better than I did earlier in the format. I think it's just time getting used to it and understanding that this deck is just meant to grind. Oftentimes, when you try to close out games early and just get, pull ahead and put them on better habit, they'll have it, and you lose those games where you can just sit back and just, let yourself get into a grind game and win those. The deck is very, very good at grinding.
My left ear is enjoying this video. Oh, did he have the same problem that I had? Because in my deck profile that I uploaded last week, I only had one-sided audio. I don't know why. Is this the same? Does this have the same problem? I guess I can check the comments. Because in my comments it was full of left ear jokes. Wait, no, there's not a single one here. I think I've been debated.
You can compare stuff like VS and Yummy. If they get going full, you can't beat them. But if you're forcing them off into half boards, you can feel very comfortable grinding with both of them. So get into the list. Sand Draco Tail lineup: 3 Lucius, 3 Malulu, 3 Fimina, 3 Pan, 1 Urgula, what I did this time. Before I was playing more Urgula.
The 3 Pan, 1 Urgula is the same thing I did at my locals. I liked it, but I will say I want more Urgulas. I think if I am playing Draco Tail, I'm either upping the number of Draco Tails by 1 extra by playing a second Urgula, or I'll play 2 and 2.
Because I wanted to add back Fimina if I was going to beat Hoisu turn 0, and you didn't want to use Pan because you wanted to hold the Pan until the end of the turn in the event that they Hoisu. But versus VS, I just go second now, post side, mainly because all the good cards, or go second cards versus that deck. Both the Chimmies are really good. Ogre actually gains value that way, forces them to play into Nib easier that way. The other thing is the cards like Azuna and Hoisu are a lot worse when they're going first. Like, they're just normal Yu-Gi-Oh cards as opposed to going second where they're cheating. I decided to play 3 Pan. You do need extra names, and since I bumped Urgula down, I bumped Pan up. There's an argument to play 2 of it. Once you get the new one, you probably cut one of these for the new one. But I really like multiple of them because what happens, I'll often keep one in the hand, one in the grave. And this grave card comes up multiple times throughout the tournament, just people being silly and forgetting about, or even sometimes they just have to force something, you have to pop one of the non-Draco Tail fusions are really the ones that put pressure on the board. You get triggered this, you get summon a Lucius back, you get extra shirts that way. Like I said, you're getting to grind games, and so these +1s off Pan searches do add up. Drawing it in general is just a good card as long as you start playing. So very happy with the Draco Tail lineup, won't change anything there. Spell and trap, standard stuff, 3 Ketu, 3 Rahu, and then 1 of each trap. Going second into VS, I will take out the 1 Flame because it's hard to get value post, turn 1 once they've done everything, and you're usually popping start turn 1 when you're playing. Against any of the other decks going second, I still keep them in. So against, Draco Tail or Yummy, I keep both of them in. You need them for the grind. You need them to actually gain value. I will also take out a Rahu into all matchups going second, other than Yummy, because they have Purge. I will take out a Ketu instead, because this is the one that lets you play through Purge. This one doesn't. Other than that, standard lineup.
The idea of taking out a spell going second is kind of wild to me. I understand you don't want to draw a spell necessarily if you can play already, but like they are such good like extenders and starters and board breakers technically, especially K2.
Too much to say. One thing to keep in mind is you need to keep track of how many you have in the deck. There are some times where you're going to activate one of these, or you fuse with one of them, but you will not activate the effect because you do need to be able to set one to be able to activate the secondary part of the effect, like pop or negate. And so if you run out of names, you lose the grind. And so if you don't actually need value immediately off them, then you generally won't set them. Yes, on your opponent's turn, when you're already thinking about the pass back because you stopped their main pushes, then you can set them. But going first, I'm not just setting random Ketsus and having them sit there doing nothing. I'll just keep them in deck because there are times where I run out of names. Then other engine cards, I played 2 King of Swamp and 1 Poly. People on Cartesia or the Light and Darkness Dragon. I think overall that this is the one with the least amount of problems. It doesn't raise your ceiling at all, but it's just a consistent card that doesn't have any issues. Problem with Cartesia is it's double normal. So going first, it can be rough because you can draw multiple normals. It's not as bad because you still get at least fuse on your opponent's turn if they choose to Imperm or Veiler it. But going second is just awful because you have 2 main normals and they will interact with it and interrupt it, and it's just really bad. Same with Light and Darkness Dragon. Yes, there's mega boards you can do with it, but the problem is that I'm fine playing a weaker engine and just ending on less board and getting into grind games because this card isn't a liability going second at all in any way, shape, or form.
People have been playing the Light and Darkness Dragon fusions. Yeah, there's a lot of experimentation right now in Draco Tail with what other ways you play to fuse. People are playing King of the Swamp Poly. I tried Edgim Chain with Patchwork yesterday at 2 days ago at locals. Cartesia. There's even the the Performapal Odd Eyes Dissolver, which is a pendulum monster that lets you fuse when it's in the scale. So it's technically also a fusion spell. But the advantage over like regular poly is that it is a monster in your hand that you can fuse with and then get it back to your hand with Arthalion. There's Cartesia, there's a Dragon Maid package with their fusion spell. Like, there's so much experimentation happening in Dracotail with different ways to fuse. And I think, honestly, this is why from the beginning, I found Dracotail to be the most interesting deck by far, because I felt like it had so many different ways to do it, to be explored and everything. The Light and Darkness Dragons as well, like they perform a fusion summon. The Amazonas one is funny. What's the name of the Amazonas one? Because that's one I haven't seen yet. Amazonas War Chief. Amazonas War Chief. If you control no monsters or only Amazonas monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special, you can set an Amazonas spell trap or a poly directly from your deck. Also, you can only attack with Amazonas monsters for the rest of this turn. Okay. You're gonna play this in dude, you play K9? K9 Dracotail with Amazonas War Chief? Jesus Christ. You go special Jockle and War Chief? Oh god. That's funny. Okay. Yeah, I see that. You're cooking. I think this is why Dracotail is the most fun deck by far, dude, because there's so much experimentation, so many cool things you can do, like Dragon Maid versions, Magistus versions, Shaddoll's. There's so much stuff you can do. I think it's awesome.
Extra push in the form of poly, where my dragons are also going second. So I'm going to continue playing this. I might test the Magistus when they come out, or I will. Wise replace them immediately, not sure. But I am happy with this just because, like I said, it has the least flaws. When you get into the grind games, you want a deck with a little amount of promise as possible. And then non-engine 3 Ash, 3 Fua, 3 Nib. I think these are all standard. Nib's like the best card in this deck. It's like the best deck for Nib ever because you can just keep looping it, as well as it triggers the Fusion, the Grade Revive themselves. And I decided to play 3 Azuna over Prulia. So the problem with Prulia is that I think it's just bad in too many matchups. Yes, it's good in the VS, but so is this card. This answers Jokel really well. And the problem with Prulia is that the matchups it's bad into are just, it's really bad. Like Dragontail and Yummy will give you like 1 draw, maybe 2. And the problem is that people look at that and say, oh,
it appears like Santoli is playing no extra engine basically in this Dracotail deck to raise the ceiling a little bit, which is something that other players have experimented with, like myself, where I played, for example, the Crowley to make stronger boards with the Magistus stuff. Other people are playing, like I said, Shaddolls to make Winda, or other people are playing Dragon Maids to have a higher ceiling. And this feels like a very Santoli approach to maximize on non-engine and just play like the pure version of Dracotail and the grind game and stuff like that. I will say this is probably the version of the deck where you have to work the hardest to win when you're going first. Like there's gonna be games where you make your standard Dracotail board, but then your opponent can just play into it, right? But I guess Santoli just isn't afraid of playing those grind games with the opponent, which I think makes sense.
It's fine if you're getting 1-2 draws out Prulia, right? And it's only good if you are getting those draws and your opponent's making a worse board. So if they're doing a mid board and you're getting those draws, it's fine because it trades with the board. But if they're just full boarding, it's an upstart, like that's awful. It's effectively nothing. And so I don't like that. The other thing is like you get into a lot of grind games, like I've been saying. And so Fua, it's so good that I can justify playing it even though it's not amazing in the grind games. Although it does come up, post turn 1 where you can activate it and it does stun Yummy and Namir a bit. But Drunk Rule in a grind game is just awful. I think this card overall is just the best card into every deck that is not Yummy. It is amazing in the mirror, is amazing into VS because it can force out the Jokel ants, or it shouldn't say force out, but it eats the Jokel immediately, as well as forces them to play into Nib. It just punishes weak hands. I'm just super happy with this card. It's going to go in first and second. I will not be cutting this at all. So cards with 3 Veiler. Yeah, people were on Ogre.
I think long story short, I think both. I think we're going to talk about this later, but as hand traps right now, I think both Veiler and Izuna are fine. I think they are a little more on the mediocre side. However, they are probably the best card you can pair with a Nibiru. So if your goal is like, if your opponent opens a strong Vanquish Soul Canine hand, for example, the only realistic way to beat it is like if you can pair a Nibiru. Like if your hand basically needs to be cracked. And I noticed this with Nibiru a lot, is like alone against Canine decks, it often feels completely terrible, but it has the chance to be paired and then be insane. So I think like Izuna and Valor are probably along the better cards to actually beat a Canine combo if you have Nip. If you don't have Nip, they're not going to feel great, but yeah. The Yummy matchup is of course the one thing that is holding Izuna and Lupus back, but yeah.
Fan of it. Again, I don't like the flexibility. I ended up playing 3 mirrors at the event, and I think my deck was built best for the mirror because I don't have Perulias or Ogres in the deck. I think this card's just flexible. The biggest appeal of it is just Nib Valor is still just the best thing. I only ended up playing 1 DS at the event. In both games, there's like go Fua, he ashes, and then he starts comboing. It's Nib Valor both games, and he just loses those.
Okay. How did you beat Vanquish Soul Canine? Well, I just opened Fuva, Nib, Valor, and Engine.
That's the biggest.
That's simple.
Reward of it. It still is good into most matchups that are not DS. Exactly.
But that's the thing, right? You got to play those cards to even put yourself into that position, right? Otherwise, if you, let's say Valor is like in my, let's say my list from locals, right? And Valors are like Patchwork Engine instead, right? And I open Fuva, Nib, Patchwork, but my opponent has Ash for the Fuva and then Ripper for the Nib, and so I just can't beat it, right? The engine is not going to make up for it. The engine is going to make my deck more consistent going first, but it's not going to help going second against Vanquish Soul Canine.
Or Yummy. And what I mean by that is like, you know, it's salvageable in those matchups you can usually trade. It's not insane, but you know, it's just a card that's loopable. It's a spellcast you can use fusion, and it's just the fact that, you know, it always feels like it's fine. Is good enough for me in the deck. Go to the extra deck, triple Ethereon, double Gulmel. I've said that you can play one of this before. I've been back on 2 and I stand by it now because, like I said, I think I've gone better with the deck, and you do get in these grind game scenarios where you do want the second one. They do come up, you do need ways to fuse. 1 Mysterion, 1 Secure Gunner, Sectarion Dragon. I'm thinking of links. Both these cards are just, you know, your kind of backup to go into. It's good to have both these because it means you can use monsters just on the board, just both your fusions to go into them. Not too much to say on those. I didn't play any of the fusions. I think the King of the Swamp stuff is just fake. It's very rare I'm fusing with a King of the Swamp to get one of the, you know, substituted monsters, and it feels good.
Would you agree to go second against Vanquish Soul Canine with this build? Is he doing that? Has he said that? Did I miss that? Or is that still coming up later?
Dragoon's too specific, Tyrant's too specific. I just like playing these, and it's good enough. Look cards, 1 Cross Sheep, 1 SP.
He said that? Host side. Okay, let's watch the side deck for that first.
Links, I don't play Seals because I think that is fake without having 6 Chummies. Once you have 6 Chummies, then it's more reason to go Seals because you can go Seals, go double Chummy afterwards, and then summon Lulu. But if you're only playing 3 Chummies in the main, it's just not worth playing it. And I decided to play a National Night package. I think this card is just the whole reason why Izuna is worthwhile. I see people not playing this and playing Izuna. I just think it's awful. I think Izuna is just an awful card then. This card just does so much. Not all times is going to matter. Sometimes, you know, summon National Night, it sucks something up, and then they just remove it, and that's fine. But the games where this card actually gets a stick and you use double suck up, or we actually have the ability to rank up, is just insane. And because it has that ceiling is why I chose to play this. And there's nothing else in the extra deck I really wanted to have. You know, you can play King of Swamps, you can play the Seals, but I think that they just don't come up specifically enough where, like, this is more, you know, you get in a simplified game state, it's going to come up. Like, it's always going to be available there as opposed to be hang dependent, and this is why I chose to play this package. It was insane throughout the weekend, do not regret it. 1 Vine as a secondary target. I don't play Ripper, I think that's really fake. It's very rare I summon the Izuna turn 0. I'd rather hold it as a surprise. But Vine just for the weird scenarios where you'd rather have the book and then the pop instead of the suck up, and then 1 Typhon because you're playing hand trap deck, you must play this. Side deck, just more hand traps.
It's also worth noting, I think Typhon is a decent option in case you ever just draw the Lupus alone. Just being able to, like, make a Typhon out of it, which is, it can be slightly annoying, right? If you pair that with other hand traps, your opponent makes a half board, and then just before they pass, you go like Lupus, summon Typhon. That's neat.
The Perulias are, you know, you put these in the matchups where it matters. I'm not putting in the mirror or Yummy. It's just for the canine decks, and you make some other nonsense. 2 Ogres, the other card for VS, just hitting a start. Like I said, I go second post side. I take out the 1 spell, so the 1 Rahu. the 3 swamps, and then usually 1 pan, and then you just put these in, and usually you have enough hand traps to stun them enough.
Okay, so the idea is we go second on purpose. They are not expecting it, which means they might have like suboptimal cards in their deck still, like Fuva and stuff. And we just try to hand trap them. I think that's risky, but it can work, of course. Like Charmies are a big deal in the current format. You know, if you are able to Charmy your opponent when they are not expecting it, and they have like their own Charmies in hand and they don't really have great, like, you know, it's a risky gambit. But with, honestly, I can see it because of specifically the version that he decided to play, right? Like if they take out some engine, they take out some starters, and their deck is in general less consistent going first, I can see it, especially because this version of the deck, right? It plays no extra engine, no extra sealing. We can't make Winda going first. We don't even play Seals for going first. We don't play Crowley for some stuff going, like, we don't have really anything to like, we just make the normal Draco Tail end board, right? That's all we have. So maybe I would have to test it, but I could see it.
For the Yummy match, brother match with 1 Magma, I think this is just +1. Usually you're not actually hitting something meaningful with it. You'll trade with like 1 body off like Minion Revive or something, but it's still +1.
I love Magna in this deck. I really do. I think Magna is awesome against especially against Yummy. But I think Magna is really cool because you just like, you put a big body up that threatens the Herald of the Arclight. You take 1 body away from the minion, and you also just like, you just search engine to your hand, and then you have the bonus of you can recycle this once it hits the graveyard. So I've really been enjoying Magna in Draco Tail.
And lets you fix your hands like that there. 3 Phantasmage just gets Yummy, and then 3 Bell for the Mirror and Yummy as well. You get into a lot of weird game states with this deck where you just, you know, start grinding and then you're holding Bells or the Ogres even, for not a specific choke point, but just whenever you think it's the most reasonable use. And then the go first cards, 1 Prosperity, 1 Call By because you want to beat Ash and Bell, and then 1 TC Boo for those matchups that TC Boo is good in. Overall, very happy with the deck. I'm probably going to continue to play this going forward over VS. I think this is much more my style. VS is kind of turn into a combo pile. Not to say that I don't enjoy it, but it's definitely less my style than this deck. I think this deck is really good once you kind of...
I think he would feel the exact same way about Vanquish Soul K9 than I did, where I think he would also much prefer the previous version of the deck, where I realized only because everyone is playing K9 Vanquish Soul, you don't have to, like, you can still play pure Vanquish Soul or like just play Izuna as a hand trap, and other than that play normal Vanquish Soul. I think that's still very much possible, and I think that's what I would do if I were to play Vanquish Soul again. At which point your ceiling is obviously going to be a little bit lower because you don't have K9s to pop off like crazy. But I think that's fine. I think that's reasonable. But I do like this deck. You know, I do consider Draco Tail an option for my regional tomorrow. I think it's nice, and I'll see. Yeah. I like it. Solid approach. I'm not sure. I would have to test the blinding second against Vanquish Soul. I think that's a little risky, but no, it's been working for him. I mean, you do go second. You do go second with 3 Perulia, 3 Fuva, and 3 Nibs. And the Nibs in this version of the deck is, the Nib is probably almost always going to be paired. So even if they do open a way to make Ripper, you have Veiler, Ogre, Izuna, Phimena. There's a lot of cards to pair the Nib with. So like all of like Perulia and Fuva and Nib are really high quality hand traps in this deck. So I can see it. Okay. Anything else that is worth taking a look at from this last weekend of regionals? We have, is there any spicy stuff that you've seen that you want to check out? Because like I assume most of the Vanquish Soul K9 are going to be roughly like standard. Pure Mitsurugi topped the regional. Pure Mitsurugi first place. Okay. Hold up. Oh, it's the UK Josh. Yeah, I'm familiar.
Hi everyone, Josh Kelly here from The Collective. On JUI's channel, I won Europa Regional in London. Just under 200 players with Pure Mitsurugi this weekend. Thanks to JUI for featuring my deck profile. It was an 8-round tournament. I went 7-1, had an unfortunate loss, but the deck was really good. I made a few changes to my list from the UK Open. So I'm gonna go through the list. I won't spend too long on it. If you want to check out the list maybe in a bit more detail talking about the cards, there's one on my channel The Collective from a few weeks ago. And also if you want any coaching for the Mitsurugi deck, I offer coaching on my Metafy, which will be down in the description below. So yeah, let's get into the profile. I won't spend too long going over the cards, and I'll talk a bit more about the tournament experience and the new time rules and how I feel.
He did also win the UK Open with it, yeah.
For the ritual monsters, I played 3 Habakiri, of course, 1 card starter, 3 Murakumo, 1 Futsu. Most of my engine ratios are the same that I played in the UK Open. So the 6 rituals, then 2 Aramasa, so 1 card starter, but it's the worst one. And then 1 of the rest of the names, so Saji, Kusanagi, and Night Sword Serpent. And then for the Mitsu spell traps, I played 3 Mitsurugi Ritual, which is amazing to hard draw when it's live. 3 Mitsurugi Prayers, of course, and then 3 Pre-Prep, which is once again the same, and then 1 Mitsurugi Mirror, 1 Magatama, the 1 of Searchable Nib.
Okay.
And that's it for the cards that are accessible through Engine, and then I also played some more consistency cards.
Let's go.
Same as before, 2 Extrav and 1 Frosp. And then for the non-engine,
Yeah, no, this is the base deck. This is a pure
all
Mitsu.
these non-engine were the same. So Coolby, Talents, 3 Fuelos, and then 3 Imperm and 3 Impulse. It's great this deck is able to play Impulse. And then the one thing that I changed in my main deck from my list from the UK Open is today I played 3 Book of Eclipse over 3 Perulias. I had a few games where my Perulia was turning on my opponent's Izunas in brick hands. So I wanted to give Book of Eclipse a try. I only activated this once at the regional on Sunday, so I can't say if it's amazing, but I really like that the coverage into the Vanquish Shoal matchup was still there, because even if they've resolved the Vanquish Shoal trap, if you can set their monsters, they're not Vanquish Shoals anymore, so they can all be destroyed by Murakumo. So it's really good in theory, but I haven't activated it enough times to know if it's actually good. And then for the extra deck, I played 2 Dynamondo, thanks Vasco for the second, 2 IP, 2 SP, my bulk Starlight rares now. Pretty funny, this card is so cheap. And then 2 Gallant Granite. I would never change those. I played...
I mean, I vibe with this deck. It's pretty close to the deck that I topped French Nationals with. I'm just like... I'm honestly a little blown away by the fact that they win games going second with it, because the ceiling, it's not just the ceiling that's low, it's also just like the non-engine pound specifically against K9 Vanquish Soul doesn't seem that good. But it's impressive, honestly. I like it. I can see it beating. Maybe there's this thing happening here where I'm just like focusing too much on specifically K9 Vanquish Soul, which is the most successful deck in the format. But it is also like, it's super hard to beat that deck going second in general if you don't draw like specifically like, I don't know, Fuva, or like you Ash their only starter, or you have like a paired Nibiru. It's very difficult to beat it going second. But like, I mean, Vanquish Soul K9 is not the only deck in the format right now. It is probably the strongest deck in the format, but it's not the most it's not the only one. There's a lot of other things. Like for example, at the regionals I went to, I only played against 3 over the course of 18 rounds or 17 rounds. It was only 3 Vanquish Soul K9s. So, and you're not going second against it all the time, you know, as long as your deck can beat it going first, you're still going to have a fine matchup, or like you can lose game 1, win game 2, win game 3 going second if you side much for it. So maybe it's fine.
The 1 Dark Charmer, Typhon, Dugares, Ferrolimps, Baguska, and Light Dragon Agnista. The only one here that is potentially cuttable is the King of Ferrolimps. Everything else I would say is mandatory. King of Ferrolimps only comes up for some niche lines. And then the last card I played was Tornado Dragon. Previously I played Evil Swarm Exton Knight. I've also been messing around a bit with Zeus, but I felt Zeus only came up when your opponent played terribly into it, so it wasn't really worth. And because of the threat of Exton Knight, no deck should ever really let this deck make a rank 4 if the Mitsurugi player is behind. So I felt if my opponents were going to play correctly, then this was a better card. And then for the side, I made a few changes. So in all my lists previously, I played 1 Ash. Today I tried out 2 more, sorry. So
all right, there was no Ash in the main.
A few more cards deciding going first, and it covers some matchups like the Mitsurugi matchup a little better. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't amazing. I like that I had a bit more Mitsurugi coverage because there were more Mitsurugi players, and the amount of Mitsurugi.
I've never seen anyone play 2 IP before. No, I've done that. That was in my French Nationals deck too. I also did the 2 SP, 2 IP, 2 Dynamondo for Extrav.
Players has just been increasing in all the tournaments I've been to. Then I played 3 Joel, which has the Mitsurugi coverage, but I mainly have this for Vanquish Shoal to stop them from getting to the trap is the aim. Ogre normally stops them from getting to the trap more, but this has better coverage in dark matchups.
How can you beat Lunalight with Draco Tail, by the way? I mean, you probably don't have an out to... I don't think you have an out to Liger Dancer, but I think most decks don't.
So I preferred it. And then I played 2 more Nibs. Amazing card deciding going first.
You just have to hand trap them beforehand, I suppose.
Like Yummy going second. I think I'll always keep playing these.
Like you play like, I mean, that's like the thing, right? You play like Veilers and Izunas and Fimenas, and you just try to interrupt them.
And I played Purification and Crossout for going first. I previously played 1 Judgment as well, but now the Mitsurugi has become a lot more popular. I felt they were going to...
I've been testing Gamma Seal to bounce back with Arthalion, good for Herald and in Yummy as well. Yeah, you could make the argument that like you can side deck a card like that against Yummy because all you really care about is dealing with the Herald, and then it also doubles as an out to that. Nah, it's not the worst idea.
Be more Joels on people's side, so I'm now siding in a Joel every time for the Crossout going first. So that's where my Solemn Judgment space went. And then previously I just played Rivalry. This time I played Rivalry and Gozen.
Is there a dragon or spellcaster kaiju? I don't think so. I think none of them is a dragon or spellcaster, no. Or is there a dragon? I don't think there's a dragon kaiju. They have Thunder, Insect, Fiend, Aqua. I don't know. They don't have a dragon, I don't think. Dinosaur, yeah.
Out with these cards, but in theory,
the fire one is Dino.
And really strong.
Machine, yeah, no, there's no.
Shift is disgusting. I think every tournament I take this deck to, I draw it once, and it wins me that game, so I'll take it. And then Wosu helps out Caesar, helps out Liger Dancer. I outed the Raid Raptor guy on the week.
Oh, this deck has a convenient out to Liger Dancer. That's true.
And then the one Duster. At the Dutch Open, I went 6-2. I had an unfortunate loss to Odeon because I wasn't ready for the Gamma, and I had a loss against Vanquish Shoal K9 where I got Dice Smashed game 2, and my only start was Aramasa, and I got Drawed game 3, which is a bit unfortunate. I think the only change I made in the deck was the Perulia, which felt dead into the Odeon. It felt really dead, and into the Vanquish Shoal it turned on their Izuna, and it hasn't felt amazing in matchups, so I have taken the Perulias out. And then I think at the Dutch Open in my side deck, I played Pancratops, which was awful because it clashes with Impulse. So unless you save Impulse as a breaker, the Pancratops can't. It's just a Cyber Dragon. So I don't think Pancratops is amazing. So to go into my matchup, at the regional on Sunday, I won. My first matchup was
okay. I don't want to go through the entire regional report, but it's cool they're including that. So if you want to see that, feel free to check out the video. It's in the spreadsheet. It's cool to see that these decks are performing. It makes me think, like, it makes me reconsider my approach to the current format, because last weekend I just played like the best deck, right? Because I was trying to do well, and I didn't have that much experience in the format yet. I just brought Vanquish Soul K9, but like the more I played, the more I realized like that deck also has its own issues, and ultimately, I think with this format, there is still a lot of exploration you can do, and there's a lot of decks that are viable, and you can really just find the deck that works the best for you. I think there is a lot of merit to that. I think whether that's Vanquish Soul, Yami, Draco Tail, or even something like Pure Mitsurugi, they're all still capable of doing well. I think that's one of the best parts about the current TCG format in general. Yeah. So I think that's awesome. I think the format is diverse, that a lot of decks are viable and powerful and also not unfair. I mean, I think you could argue that some of the like the quote unquote best decks in the format, like specifically K9 Vanquish Soul. I've said this before, but with the inclusion of the K9 cards, I do feel like that deck going first is doing too much, right? It is doing too much with a solid hand. Like that deck very much makes insane end boards. But even that, and that leads me into the next thing I wanted to do this today. Even K9 Vanquish Soul, in theory, is a deck that makes an end board that you could think about playing board breakers against. But there is a certain card that prevents you from really using board breakers in the current format, consistently at least. There's going to be a couple of games where you're going to try to board breaker your opponent, and you won't be able to because they make Paradise Smasher, for example. And that leads me into something that I've been wanting to do, which is a little bit of a ban list discussion with you guys. Here's the thing. I know we have had a ban list discussion, I think at this point, like 2 months ago. It was before Justice Hunters came out. I was discussing a potential ban list. But I think some things have changed since, and we just haven't gotten a ban list. So I did want to revisit this topic real quick, because there's a lot of speculation going on right now on the internet on whether we even getting a ban list or not, right? Because they did say, which was really nice of them to be fair, they did say you're not going to get a ban list until after the World Championships, which was nice that we no longer had to speculate last month on whether we would get a ban list or not. However, now it is after Worlds, and we are currently approaching Justice Hunters format, and Doom of Dimension is coming out in 1.5 weeks, as well as we have big events coming up. We have YCS Lille for the Europeans. We have YCS Anaheim a week later for NA. And then there's a bunch of other events coming up soon. And I'm just wondering, I'm out here wondering, should I be testing for YCS Lille, assuming that there isn't going to be a ban list, or should I assume that there are going to be some changes, and so on and so forth? And that's just something I've been wondering. And so I thought to myself, like, if they were to drop a ban list right now, what would I like to see? Because realistically, I did include some of the Justice Hunters decks down here towards the end, but realistically, those decks have just come out. They probably will not directly hit any of the Justice Hunters decks, but I will discuss towards the end some potential ways on how they could do it if they wanted to. But it begs the question, with all the Justice Hunters decks basically giving us a little bit of an update to the format anyways, do we really need a ban list right now? Do we need hits to some of the pre-Justice Hunters decks, and so on and so forth? And that's what I want to discuss. The first thing I want to say, however, before we even hop into any of the individual archetypes, is that I think my biggest issue with the current TCG format is not actually related to most of the actual archetypes. It's not related to most of the decks. It is mostly related to some generic cards that I feel like have become a problem, or are still a problem, and have been a problem for a long time. And so those are cards that I want to see gone regardless. And I think that would just make the format a lot better, because you wouldn't have to worry about those, and I'm gonna take the most obvious one and the one that I think is also pretty much guaranteed to happen out of the way first, and that's Paradise Smasher. Paradise Smasher is making K9 decks super annoying to play against, and I'm gonna be honest with you, none of the K9 decks are really gonna suffer much from banning Paradise Smasher. Vanquish Soul K9, K9 Crystron, any other K9 version that you can think of, K9 Draco Tail, K9 Memento, they're all gonna be fine if they ban Paradise Smasher. They don't really suffer from that, but everyone else suffers less from these decks existing without Paradise Smasher. It's a super annoying card to deal with any other deck, because it basically makes it so that you are forced into a position where you have to hand trap K9 decks, because if you don't hand trap K9 decks, they might just make Paradise Smasher and lock you out of the game. So you are forced into playing those kind of cards like Ash, Imperm, Veiler, which normally aren't even that good against K9 decks. They're fine, but like maybe with some decks you would rather approach in a way where you just like activate Dark Ruler and call it a day. But you can't really consistently do that because Paradise Smasher exists. It's just a super cringe card that makes the format worse than what it could be. And I think it's weird that they didn't already do this. I think like even if they just made like a mini ban list at the release of Justice Hunters, where they said like, hey, this is just going to be a small emergency ban list. We just ban Paradise Smasher, nothing else. Stay tuned for another ban list in a couple months. I think that would have already been a lot better than just leaving it legal. And I would have been a fan of that if they did that. So I don't know. Paradise Smasher being legal is mind blowing to me. So especially, yeah, Master Duel banned Paradise Smasher before the TCG, and in Master Duel K9 is not even out. And here's the thing: if Master Duel makes a good ban list decision before you, then you have to worry about that, because Master Duel is probably the worst at making ban lists out there. If they ban Paradise Smasher before the TCG does, that gives you something to think about. So yeah, this one's an odd one to me. So that's the one thing I wanted to get out of the way first. So some other generic cards. I firmly believe that Protoss needs to be banned again. We've talked about this in the past, whether it's Nemesis Flag or Banshee or Protoss or like Eschatos 2. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think which of these they ban, I don't really care about, whether it's Flag, whether it's Banshee, whether it's Protoss. But bringing back Protoss was a mistake. I don't want to yap about it too long because everyone agrees. I don't even mind Mitsurugi Raiziel being in the format still or whatever. Like I think that deck is like still pretty strong, but as long as it doesn't summon Protoss, I would be fine with it. This is going to be a common theme. I think we're not really going to ban much on today's discussion other than just nasty floodgates, because like basically my experience with the current format is whenever Yu-Gi-Oh is being played, it's pretty fun, but there are a couple of cards that do not allow you to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think those need to go, and then we're good to go, because the Yu-Gi-Oh that's being played right now is actually pretty good. So get rid of Protoss, please. Other than that, I would like to see Rivalry, Gozen, and There Can Be Only One go. This is more of a wish than a prediction. I personally don't think this is going to happen, unfortunately, but I wish it did, because these cards are toxic, and it just happens that at the moment every deck can every deck can play at least one of these. You know, you have like every deck can play one of these, and every deck dies to one of these, right? Like Vanquish Soul, for example, can easily play There Can Only Be One, but Vanquish Soul dies to Rivalry. Yami can play Rivalry, but completely dies to There Can Be Only One, which is a super toxic dynamic, right? Because both decks can play the floodgate that kills the other deck. And so it's like there's just a bunch of games post side right now where one of the players opens the one that the floodgate that kills the opponent, and because both of those decks are super monster focused, people don't tend to really side deck like back row hate against Yummy or back row hate against Vanquish Soul, because it's usually not your main priority. Like, yeah, maybe you can play like a Lightning Storm because it can also hit monsters or something, but it's just, you can't reliably answer these cards. And whenever they're being flipped, you probably just lose the game. And I think that's super cringe. So I know it's unlikely because these cards have been at 1 for a long time, but I will not stop bringing these up because I genuinely just think it needs to happen. And here's the thing, right? Maybe you think to yourself, but like in some of the previous formats, these cards weren't really an issue because they didn't really see that much play because they just happened to not be that good. Like, for example, Rivalry wasn't something that a lot of people played in like Malice, Mitsurugi, Raziel format. Like, there wasn't a lot of rivalries running around. The matter of fact with these cards is that they will always find a time to come back, right? So can we just rip this band-aid off, please? Can we just get rid of these cards because they come back every other format and ruin the game? And I think that's just not good. So I wanted to mention this first. And like, I'm going to go over some other cards that basically are the exact same thing. And even though they're not seeing a whole lot of play right now, they did last format. Shifter, D-Barrier, Different Dimension Ground, Feather Storm. Yeah, all of these cards, they might not see a terrible amount of play right now, but they will eventually again. These were all big problems last format, and they will be again at some point. Technically, the same is true for Mistaken Arrest, although I don't think that's going to happen. I think this card is a little bit more niche than these up there. So honestly, I think this is just it's less of a ban list for specifically the current format, but more like something that I want in general to happen. This kind of bleeds in with like the side deck in general, right? We've had this discussion in the past where like the side deck just is something that a lot of people use for good reason. They use it to just put in some really, really disgusting auto win cards for certain matchups. So like the concept of a side deck is a little weird in Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment. Like best of 3 is awesome, but the side deck is being used in a very weird way. Like usually it's like 12 cards in your side deck are cool and fine cards to like interact with your opponent. Like you play like, I don't know, like a couple of board breakers or like Pankratops or Phantasme or Nibiru or Perulia or Dark Ruler or whatever. And then like the last 3 are usually like, oh, I need to take out my Fuvas when I go first. So let me just throw in Rivalry, Called by the Grave Gozen match or whatever. Weird, right? So get rid of these cards for God's sake. Why do we still have those? Fiendsmith. I think we are kind of past the point where it's likely that they will hit Fiendsmith, because Fiendsmith at this point just feels like it's fine. I still think Moon is a bannable card. I personally, honestly, even as the biggest Fiendsmith fan and Fiendsmith defender, I still think banning Moon is a reasonable thing to do. I don't know if they will do it. I don't think they have to. This is something like I feel pretty what's the word? I feel pretty strongly about these other cards being banned. I think they should be banned, and for every one of these cards that is not being banned, I'm going to be sad. If they decide to not ban Moon, I'm not going to be mad about it. Like I think Fiendsmith is in a fine spot, but I do think that every single deck being able to make a Caesar before comboing to protect from Nibiru is a problem, just in terms of the overall design space of Yu-Gi-Oh moving forward, right? Like whenever they make a deck that doesn't lock itself, that deck can hypothetically play around Nibiru super easily, and I think that just puts them in a weird position when they're designing decks, right? Like, so I think it's better for the overall health of the game if Moon is like gone, and then Fiendsmith stays a super viable engine for every deck that has access to a Light Fiend, right? And I think that would be fair. The other solution is just ban Caesar, but I'm just telling you right now, that's not going to happen because DDD is getting support in Doom of Dimension. So banning Caesar was never going to happen right now. And even in hindsight, that was probably the reason why Caesar never got banned over the last couple of months. Like I kept bringing it up over the course of the last couple of banlist discussions when we didn't even know there was going to be DDD support, but they probably already knew when they made the previous ban lists. So I think that's why Caesar never got banned. All right. Other decks. Is there any generic cards I missed? I guess Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird, I don't know how I feel about it right now. I don't see it being hit, to be honest. It is currently being moved into the side decks because it is not that good in the main decks again. However, I still notice that every single time I'm being hit by a Droll and Lockbird post side, I'm still pretty annoyed by it. Like, depending on the deck I play, of course. I think Droll and Lockbird can still be considered a pretty annoying card, but I wouldn't be furious if they didn't ban it, but I also wouldn't be unhappy if they got rid of it, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of Droll and Lockbird as a card. I'm not a huge fan of the gameplay it provides a lot of the time, because it's either very good or very bad, and it's usually it feels very bad for one of the two players. Either you draw Droll in the middle of the game when your opponent it doesn't really have to search much and it feels awful, or you Droll your opponent and they pass on basically nothing. Sometimes there's a middle ground where some decks are still able to do something under Droll, and that's fine. But overall, I just dislike Droll personally. But yeah, so I wouldn't be mad if they hit it. Let's talk about some decks. And so first things first, let me sort this a little bit. Let's talk about Mitsurugi Ryziel. And I guess this is something where let me know your thoughts in the comments or in the Twitch chat if you're watching right now. Do you personally think that the decks before Justice Hunters still deserve a hit on the current ban list? Because arguably, of course, the Justice Hunters decks are currently outperforming Ryziel and Malice by a decent margin. So on that note, I can understand everybody who says like, nah, these decks don't really need a hit. I think they're fine as they are. Specifically Ryziel, Mitsurugi, if they ban Protoss and they lose access to Protoss, I'm already happy with that. I think that's a completely reasonable thing to say. However, I would say I have played against Mitsurugi Ryziel at regionals, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I think that deck is still really, really powerful. And I think the reason why that deck is not seeing as much tops recently is simply because not as many people are playing it. We have looked at some stats from regionals prior to recording this, and Mitsurugi Ryziel is still showing up in top cuts, and the same is true for Malice. They are still putting up numbers, even though they're not even played that much. So the conversion rate for both of these decks, I think, is still pretty high. I think it's quite simply the fact that people are more excited to play Yummy, Dracotail, and K9 at the moment. So what's holding these decks back is not how strong they are. It's more so that they're not being played as often. So personally, the way I would handle this is I would like to see just minor hits to Mitsurugi and Malice, and but the same thing happened. That the same thing I said earlier, I think, still applies. I personally think that I would not be mad if they decided not to do this. Like I said, the cards I feel the most, like the strongest about at the moment are the generic Floodgate type cards in Yu-Gi-Oh that are still left. I think it's a perfect time to hit those cards. And then you don't even have to change that much about the other decks. If I were to hit Ryziel, Mitsurugi in some way, shape, or form, I like getting rid of King of the Feral Imps to stop the bridge between the two archetypes. And I like doing something small like semi-limiting Habakiri or semi-limiting Prayers. Not both. Most importantly, not both. I think one of the two is completely fine. And then for Ryziel, I think X Ryziel deserves to be at 1, and then I'm happy. I think opening. I don't want to ban X Ryziel completely because I think it's important the deck has access to one copy of it via their searchers, like with Sword and Ice into Sword and 7th Tachyon and stuff like that. I think it is fair if they have it in the deck somewhere. I just felt like it felt way too powerful when they just open it, because then they just like start. It's like such a good board breaker too. So I think this personally is fine. I think this limiting X Ryziel makes it so you can still very much play all of the Ryziel variations like Ryziel Heraldic or Ryziel Onomat. I think by banning King of the Feral Imps, you just make it so that the bridge between Ryziel and Mitsurugi specifically is not there anymore, which I think is healthy. And then I also honestly don't think honestly, if they do this, I wouldn't even be mad if they don't hit Mitsurugi at all. I personally like pure Mitsurugi, so I wouldn't mind if they left it completely untouched. But if they want to hit it, I think a very small hit like semi-limiting prayers is completely sufficient. And that's my stand on Mitsuraiziel. Malice, on the other hand, I find difficult to even discuss right now, because the problem is the same as always. With Malice, you can either hit the consistency by hitting cards like Underground, Dormouse, Rabbit, or you have to hit the extra deck. But the problem with the extra deck is everything is a one of, so you would have to ban it. You would have to ban it. And I feel like, listen to me, I despise the Malice deck. You know this. But I personally think banning Whitebinder right now, I would celebrate it, but I don't really think it would be warranted. Like, I'm telling you right now, Whitebinder, I'm celebrating. I'm dancing on its grave if they ban it, but I think it would still be a little too much. It's basically, banning Whitebinder right now would basically be like when they banned Mathmech Circular. Because banning Mathmech Circular was funny and I celebrated it like crazy and I thought it was awesome, but it was not like something, it was not deserved. It was not something they needed to do. I hated the card. I hated what the deck did, but it didn't have to be banned. It was yeah, but I think the same is true for Whitebinder right now. If they did this, I'd be happy about it, but I don't think they have to do it. So what else could they do? I think this is a reasonable thing to do still. I know people are hating on me for always advocating for a Splash Mage ban, but I think this card is inherently unhealthy, and I think there is replacements for it in Malice. They can make Haggard Lizardos instead or whatever, and I think that'd be fine. But I think something small like this and then like limiting Dormouse or some shit, I'd be on board with. Actually, these are both semi-limited, so I guess we'll leave them there. So I feel like, honestly, with this ban list, I think the Malice players are walking away relatively happy. Especially from my prediction. I feel like every Malice player who clicked on this video was expecting more Malice hate from this ban list, I think. Like, I am right now, I'm a little worried I didn't hit Malice hard enough with this. And in reality, if you want my personal ban list, right? If you want to know what I would do if I was in charge of it, I would just kill it. I don't care about Malice. I don't like the deck. I'm not trying to keep it alive for the sake of the Malice Duelists. I don't really care about that personally. But this is more like a prediction, and I'm trying to keep it more realistic. And I think, like, just from a raw power level perspective, I guess they can keep it alive if they want to. I don't mind if they killed it, but Rabbit and Underground are already at 2, yeah. So I guess I can put them in no change, because the last category is no change. I guess it's confusing if I throw these up here. The only other decks I could think of that maybe deserve a hit are like Mermail and Lunalight, because those two, even though they are more like rogue-ish decks, I think they're both pretty toxic still. I still think Barrier Statue, it kind of goes in line with like the generic Floodgates, honestly. I mean, I'm tired of talking about Mermail every single time. I barely see Mermail in the current format, so I guess it's fine if they don't hit it, but I still want them to ban Water Barrier Statue, just because, similar to cards like Different Dimension Ground, Harpy's Featherstorm, and so on and so forth, I think just because they're not being played right now does not mean they don't deserve to be banned, because they will eventually probably see play again, and then they're going to be annoying, because eventually there's going to be a world where they hit Yami, they hit Vanquish Soul, they hit K9, they hit maybe Draco Tail, and then maybe Mermail emerges again and becomes a problem again. I don't know. I just, the Barrier Statues, I'm gonna be honest with you, should probably all be banned. Every single one of them, just because it's never a good time when they see play. Each and every one of them, when it sees play, it's a problem. So yeah. Why no mention of Baguska if Floodgates are the thing to hit? I would not mind the Baguska ban. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Baguska because link monsters exist, a lot of decks have ways to answer the Baguska. It usually means you just have to invest a lot of resources into it. So it's not as much of a traditional floodgate. But I wouldn't mind Baguska being banned, to be honest with you. I think in general, I'm just noticing this right now when I'm looking at this. This is a lot of bans. And I think it's not something that's realistic for them to do all of this at the same time, because I think it's just like, from an outside perspective, if they make a ban list and they just ban like, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 cards. I think that's going to make them look very bad, because it's like, oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! Such a crazy game. They had to ban 13 cards to fix it or whatever. But I still think like eventually all of these cards deserve to be banned. And if they go like, if they ban like 6 or 7 of them now and then like a couple of them later, I'd be okay with it. But yeah. I hope Talents gets banned. Such a stupid card. I personally think Talents and Called by the Grave are both super bannable cards. I'm fine with 1 Talents for Thrust, because I kind of think Thrust is a cool Yu-Gi-Oh card, unless it sets specifically these cards up here. But Called by the Grave should be banned, but I'm tired of repeating that argument over and over and over again. Yeah, Called by the Grave should be banned. Liger Dancer. What do we do with Lunalight? And I don't know the answer to this question, because I think it's an interesting, even though the win condition is kind of cringe, I think it creates both a difficult but also interesting dynamic in the format, where it's like every deck kind of needs to like respect it in some ways, because you could run into it. That's the thing, right? At the moment, if you go to like a 9-round regional, you probably expect to run into 0 or 1 Lunalight. It could very well be no Lunalight at all, but it's not unlikely that it's 1. And I think that's kind of awkward, because it puts you into a position where this deck kind of requires very specific answers. It's very difficult to handle Lunalight outside. I mean, yeah, you can just hand trap it to death, but that's basically like, okay, sure. Some decks can do that. Not every deck can afford to play that many hand traps. Not every deck wants to play that many hand traps. But like specific outs to Liger Dancers, just some decks have it, some decks don't. And then having to freaking put a card in your deck against Liger Dancer specifically that you might never need is kind of awkward. I do think overall, in terms of the win rate, though, this deck is fair. I don't think Lunalight is like an unfair deck in terms of its just overall, you know, the percentages, like how often it wins and so on and so forth. It is a good deck. It is not an unfair deck. However, it is kind of cringe to play against. I don't know. It's kind of like Mermail in that sense, where it's like it has a different win condition than Mermail, but it's like, it's tough to prepare for. It's not that fun to play against, because you either just, I feel like you either stomp it or they summon Liger and you lose. I thought about maybe limiting Liger is an option, because then they can only ever summon 1. And if you have 1 out to it, that's it. You do win the game. Because I really did not feel like starting to put like random Lunalight cards on the ban list. Like, I didn't feel like putting like Gold Leo on here or Tanky to 1, because Lunalight is a thing again. I didn't really want all the Beast Warrior decks to suffer just because Lunalight plays 3 Tankies. So that's the thing though, right? Like one Liger Dancer is usually all it takes to win the game if you really have no out to it. So with 1 Liger Dancer, if people still play Lunalight, then you honestly might not even, like, you might still lose to it. You might still have to prepare for Lunalight, so I don't know. I wouldn't be mad about it, though. It's kind of like, the reason why I think it's not super unlikely they actually hit it is because they also hit other niche rogue decks in the past if they did something, if their win condition was like kind of cringe. Like, I'm thinking of Gimmick Puppet, right? They did slightly hit Gimmick Puppet on the TCG ban list, even though it never had like huge representation or huge win rates, right? So I think with Liger, it's not like it's not impossible for it to happen. Yeah. Lacrima to 3. That's a good point, actually. I usually I don't discuss cards to come off the ban list because I honestly, the reason I do this is because I don't think it matters that much. I think the truth is that in Yu-Gi-Oh, most of the time, it's more important to take some cards away that are doing too much or are too broken in the current format. I think that's always far more important than actually bringing stuff off the list. And there are a couple of cards they could bring off the list. With the time rule change, I think they could actually decide to bring back Fiendsmith's Lacrima. Especially if they ban Moon at the same time. I think that'd be a fair exchange. I think if they leave Moon untouched, then I think just buffing Fiendsmith out of nowhere is not really appropriate. But if they ban Moon, I think making like the actual Fiendsmith decks have another option, I think is fine. And I think with the new time rules, the Fusion Lacrima is not nearly as toxic as it used to be. So I'd be fine with that. I think that'd be kind of cool to do that. If Lacrima comes back, Necroquip has to go? Not at all. That pairing is legal in Master Duel since forever, and like the Lacrima is not a problem. Like, not at all. Lacrima, if you completely disregard timeout, the Fusion Lacrima was always a fine card. Like, absolutely. And I think it would actually be a cool trade because it would make pure Fiendsmith decks stronger because you now have Lacrima instead of Moon, and you don't need Moon to bridge into Fiendsmith because you're playing Light Fiends. And but it makes the splash Fiendsmith like not existent anymore. So I think that's cool. And that's basically everything pre-Justice Hunters that I would personally like to see in the current format. So TLDR, this was already, I think this is pretty close to what I said a couple of weeks ago. I did say I think mostly generic cards need to go in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Like the decks are mostly fine. I don't want them to kill any deck. And I don't think this kills any deck. I think Ryziel is still playable, Mitsurugi is still playable, Lunalight is probably still playable with one Liger, and Malice, even Malice, I left alive. And even Mermail, I left alive. So they can't complain about this at all. The thing I want the most is freaking Floodgates to go. These cards are all cringe, all not fun to play against, and they don't ruin the game, but they ruin individual games in your tournament. And it's like, if you go to a 9-round tournament and you lose 1 round to Paradise Smasher, 1 round to Rivalry, 1 round to Protoss, 1 round to Shifter, like that just adds up. It just adds up, and it's giga annoying, you know? Like that, there's just too many of these cards. It's not just Paradise Smasher, it's not just Protoss, it's the sheer mass of these cards that people are playing at the moment that just like it just adds up, and it becomes too much eventually. Like for last weekend, this is recency bias, but I went to a regional. I went to 2 regionals back to back. I lost like 3 games to Paradise Smasher, a game to Rivalry, and I think 1 to Shifter or something. And it's just like it just adds up, and it's annoying. Why does it always have to be this many of these cards in the format? Yeah. That being said, one thing I quickly want to touch upon towards the end here is because I don't expect them to hit any Justice Hunters, but if they wanted to give a slight tap on the wrist to Justice Hunters decks, right? Like, or slap on the wrist, what could they do? Draco Tail, personally, I think deserves no hit at all. Draco Tail is super fair as an engine. I think Draco Tail is awesome. They should not hit Draco Tail. I think if they wanted to do anything, I think banning Winda, it's always a good time to ban Winda, but there's never been a better time to ban Winda, because that's like the one Draco Tail thing that people do that's actually super cringe is like making Winda. And I'm gonna be honest with you, there is infinite versions of Draco Tail that don't need Winda. You do not have to ban Winda. You do not have to play Winda for Draco Tail to be good. What about Kaliga? Yes, you can make some very strong and cringe Kaliga endboards in Draco Tail, but that's not something they will hit right now because Magistus just came out. So I don't think they will do that. But it's worth noting Kaliga is like just as toxic, probably. Banning Winda increases Draco Tail win rate. Unironically, there are some people that will benefit from this, because they just like make Winda when they shouldn't, and they could just win a normal grind game, but they don't because they have Winda in their deck. I would like to see Winda go. Other than that, I think Draco Tail is completely fine. K9 Vanquish Soul. I personally, I think K9 is the quote-unquote cringiest deck out of Justice Hunters. I still think it's kind of cool, but I think just Ripper negating hand traps is not a dynamic I really enjoy when they go like they splash K9 in decks like Crystron or Vanquish Soul, which already made powerful boards, but now they make even more powerful boards. And they also protect them from hand traps. So I'm not a huge fan of K9 in that sense. As a pure deck, I think K9 would be fine, but it's just being used as a splash more than a pure. However, I don't think they are going to hit any Justice Hunters cards directly. I don't think there's going to be any K9, any Yummy, or any Draco Tail card directly on the ban list. Which means the only thing they can really do to hit the Justice Hunters decks, if they wanted to, which I personally prediction, I don't think they want to hit any of the Justice Hunters decks. But if they wanted to do something about them, I think Obedience School and Herald are two cards they could look at for Yummy. I don't want these banned, but I think like Herald going to 1, just so they can only make one and not make a second one on your turn, I think would be fine. I think, honestly, banning Herald, I don't think is appropriate, because I think Herald is a pretty cool card, actually. Even though it is an Omni-Negate, it is an Omni-Negate that tributes itself, so it doesn't have like a huge body attached. And I would be kind of sad about losing all the utility that Herald provides, because there's a lot of decks that also use like the search effect and stuff like that. I think Herald to 1 is fine. I think hitting Obedience School at this point in time is probably too harsh. The deck hasn't even reached its peak yet. You know, it gets more support in Doom of Dimensions. So I think Obedience School is not appropriate at this point in time. I think 1 Herald would be kind of cool though, because you can definitely play the deck with 1 Herald. It doesn't really impact it too much. But there's like some games where like they make 1 Herald, you bait the Herald because you play like Draco Tail and you really need your stuff to go to the graveyard. And then they just make a second Herald, and that's like, yeah. Yeah. And then we have, I guess the only thing that's left is Holy Sue. I personally like Vanquish Soul, so I personally wouldn't mind if Holy Sue stayed at 3. I completely understand the people that say like Holy Sue should be limited or semi-limited, and I personally think it wouldn't be unreasonable to do it, because it is by far the most played version of K9. So it would probably, putting Holy Sue to 1 would probably force people to experiment a little bit with other versions of the deck. But I personally, I wouldn't do it. I think it's a little early to hit Holy Sue, and I also think like honestly, I think K9 Crystron is pretty much the same concept of a deck than Vanquish Soul. So it doesn't really make that much of a difference if they play K9 Crystron or K9 Vanquish Soul when they're going first. They both basically try to do the same thing, which is like make an auto win board when they go first. So honestly, my opinion is that the best way to approach hitting K9 Vanquish Soul or K9 Crystron is eventually hitting the K9 cards, because I personally think the K9 cards are what puts these decks over the top, which is the part that I don't like about K9. I think pure K9 would have been pretty cool, but as it turns out, everyone is just slapping these cards into other decks. I'm repeating myself, but like, you know, Crystron, Vanquish Soul, they were both super viable decks before K9 existed, and now K9 just makes them feel overpowered. But I think the reason for that is K9 and not Vanquish Soul and not Crystron. Like I would feel weird hitting Crystron cards now, for example, just because K9 Crystron is a thing and they can't hit K9 cards yet. I think realistically they should just hit K9 as soon as they can, a little bit, right? That's what Fiendsmith is too, no? Yes, that's why I want to get rid of the splashability of Fiendsmith by banning Moon, so that not every deck can just slap Fiendsmith in. You actually have to play Light Fiends and draw Light Fiends to do that, right? Like that's something I would like to see, instead of, yeah, so basically remove the splashability from from Fiendsmith and have people play like actual Fiendsmith decks. I think would be fine. Yeah. If we really need Droll, then it should be treated like the Charmies and get a retrain. I would be a big fan of retraining Droll and banning it. We've discussed that in the past. We've had a discussion where we tried to design a new Droll and Lockbird, basically. Which is why I'm saying, like, I would not be mad if they banned Droll. This is more like right now I'm just like, I'm a little tired of Droll and Lockbird, so I would like it to be banned. But it was more like a realistic prediction. I feel like if they didn't ban Droll during or before the last format, I just feel like they weren't going to do it. But yeah. So I think the problem is, like, right now, I feel like the way they think about making the ban list is like they don't really hit cards that don't see as much play at the moment, right? And Droll and Lockbird has stopped seeing an immense amount of play. It's still a popular side deck card, but it's nowhere near as popular as it was last format, which is why I think, like, I think we are just not getting ban lists frequently enough in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, I think is a problem, because a lot of the times we have cards that come up, they have their period where they're really annoying, and the ban list just isn't fast enough to catch up with it, because we only get like 2 a year. Like, we get 2 ban lists a year, but we have like I don't know, 6 or 7 different formats because of like the product releases and everything. So we have way more formats than ban lists. So whenever there's a ban list happening, there's like a couple of cards that maybe saw play like 2 formats ago, but aren't seeing play right now, so they don't ban them. So they are just still like lingering around in the format, haha, lingering. And then eventually they come back, right? So like cards like Different Dimension Ground or Harpy's Featherstorm or Barrier Statue, like those cards, I personally don't think they're going to ban them right now because they were a thing like 3 months ago, right? And they didn't make a ban list 3 months ago. They're making a ban list now, soon, hopefully. But like, will they have the foresight, or I guess hindsight, to still hit those cards even though they're not being played right now because they could become problems in the future? I don't know. And I think that's the weird part about the ban list cycle that we have. I think we should have more frequent but smaller updates is the preferred way to go for ban lists, which is unfortunately not what they're doing right now. Basically, the cycle that Master Duel has, I think, is pretty good. Where it's like more frequent ban lists but less hits. The only problem with Master Duel is that all of their hits are terrible. So like, that's a different story. Basically, what I want is the Master Duel ban list cycle with TCG quality of hits. That's the ideal scenario, right? Like that's what we need, essentially. Yeah. But rare ban lists are way more hype. I mean, okay, sure. I guess I get that opinion. I would say though, I mean, I'm fine with longer cycles as well. But then I think the ban lists have to be bigger, basically. Like I don't mind waiting 5 months for a ban list if that ban list is really good. If that ban list really slaps, you know, like if you wait 5 months for a ban list, then I personally believe you should hit cards that were super toxic like 2 months ago, because you know, like, for example, Harpy's Featherstorm, right? The card is not seeing play right now, but everyone knows that the card has incredibly toxic potential. We've seen it this past like ban list period, right? We've seen a couple of months where this card was incredibly toxic. It's not toxic. I mean, it's not being played right now, but it's still the same level of toxic, and it still has the same the potential to come back at any moment, right? If there's any deck that can play Thrust and make a Winged Beast, this card is going to be back. So if you're going to wait 5 months to make a ban list, then for God's sake, hit that card too. You know what I mean? So I think it can be more frequent ban lists with less updates, or less frequent ban lists with a lot of cards on it. But what doesn't work is long period of time and then only hit like some very few cards. I think that's not a great approach. All right, I'll be right back. If all these cards get banned, what's even worth citing? That's a crazy take. That's the craziest thing I've read all day, I think. You think your side deck experience is ruined if you can't cite Rivalry, Gozen, Tikaboo, D-Barrier, DDG, and Harpy's Featherstorm? That's insane. What a crazy thing to say. It's not. That's the crazy thing, right? There's so many good cards you can cite specifically for going first. Like even something as simple as citing 3 Solemn Judgments to replace your 3 Fuvalos. Like that's really powerful. That is really powerful, but it just doesn't win you every single game immediately on the spot. I don't know, man. The Nintendo Direct is in 10 minutes. Do you want to react, Andy? It? Are they expecting? Are we expecting anything crazy out of it? Like, what's the deal with Nintendo Direct? I'm not really following it that much. Probably not. Probably not. The thing is, like, I already have less time today than usual on stream. Like, like I said earlier at the beginning of the stream, I have to go 1 hour earlier today because I have to play in a Master Duel tournament, which I can't stream because it's a 3v3 and I don't want my, I don't want the opponents to be able to see my hand. Otherwise, I would stream it. But what I will do is I will host. I believe Nesh is casting it, so I'll just host Nesh, and you can still watch it if you want to. Did you see the new Mega Evolutions? I saw Dragonite. I think I saw Dragonite, and I saw there was another one. Oh, I saw Victory Bell. That's it. Malamar is good. Ooh, what? Mega Malamar? That's cool. I like him. What else? What did you say? Halucha? Mega Halucha. Wait, is this Mega Halucha? This is just Halucha, isn't it? I don't know Halucha like that, but he doesn't. This seems like the same thing. This is like barely any different. I think the thing around the neck is new, and like the mask might be different, but it's like if you it's like a masked hero version of Halucha. Okay. I thought about playing Legends ZA on stream. What do you think about that? When does it come out even? I might stream it. Because I did that with Scarlet and Violet, and it was kind of fun. We did like a 24-hour stream when that came out. I thought that was fun. Mid-October? I might do it. Maybe we'll get the ban list. Yeah. That's still that was funny. I have to check. Does anyone know? Because I have a I had the setup to stream with my Nintendo Switch. I forgot what you needed for it. I think a capture card is what it's called. I had that for the Nintendo Switch. Does anyone know if I can use the same thing for the Nintendo Switch too, or do I need a new one? Like is it a different capture card or is it the same? Should be fine. Okay, nice. Yeah, then we can eventually stream. We can stream some Switch 2 stuff at some point. I don't mind. I think it was HDMI. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was. Is surely just going to be a mid-fest like any Pokemon past Gen 5? I mean, didn't they say they were gonna go away from like they're going away from the classic Pokemon game approach, right? Like, because this one is like another open world like Pokemon Legends Arceus, I think. And like I think for VGC they just use like it's funny because they basically I guess to put it in Yu-Gi-Oh players terms, there was a simulator for VGC, which is the Pokemon video game, like competitive stuff. They had a showdown, which was basically DB, like a really watered down version of just like the basics, like a simulator to practice. And they basically made an official version of that now to use at competitions. I forgot what it's called. I think like Pokemon Champions or something. And that's what they use now for, or I think starting from next year or something. That's what they use for VGC, which I think is fun or good. I think it's good because it means that like the people that just want to play VGC don't have to like buy every single mainline Pokemon game just to compete. Well, yeah. And then they are more free to like experiment with the main Pokemon titles because they don't have to make like the same formula every time. Well, yeah. Okay. They are 100% going to need to buy every main game still. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm not that deep into the thing, but I just heard that it makes a lot of stuff a lot easier, like your EVs and IVs and stuff like that are easier to be adjusted in that apparently, which was always a hassle because I've played VGC before and that was always like one of the bigger deals with it. Like it was kind of difficult to sometimes get certain Pokemon or train them the way you wanted them to be, and then yeah, you know. Favorite Pokemon? Umbreon, Espeon, Nidoking, Nidoqueen, and Tyranitar is my top 5. Are there VGC tourneys in Germany? Of course. Boomer choice? Yeah, they're boomer. They're unk choices, I know. All right. Let's move on from Pokemon. Let's go back into the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I have another current format discussion planned. I realized I haven't done a non-engine discussion for the current format because I was so caught up with Master Duel. And now that I have played in a couple of tournaments with Justice Hunter's format, I do feel ready to give my opinion on some of these non-engine cards. Now, before we even hop into evaluating these individual cards, I want to take a moment to speak about hand traps versus board breakers in the current format in general, because I think we are facing a relatively weird dynamic with hand traps and board breakers right now, which is that technically the board breaker approaches are pretty valid right now. Like versus decks like Yummy, board breakers are pretty good, like Dark Ruler or Super Poly or stuff like that. They're pretty high value cards against the Yummy deck. The problem that board breaker approaches have at the moment, because in theory, even the K9 boards are relatively easy to board break because it doesn't really have negations for spell cards. The only deck that like can easily negate, I mean, Herald of the Arclight is a negate, but most board breakers like circumvent that, like Dark Ruler or Super Poly, you know, can't be negated by Herald. The only deck that can easily negate like a Dark Ruler is like Draco Tail, but against Draco Tail, you don't really need board breakers because their board is kind of fine to begin with. Board breakers are well positioned right now if it wasn't for one card and one card only, and that is Paradise Smasher. If you're trying to play a board breaker approach against a K9 deck, there is always the fear of being hit by a Paradise Smasher, and then you can break their board all you want. You won't be able to do anything else, and you just get locked out of the game, which is why I've been advocating for a ban list, even if they don't want to hit the new decks. Like, we need a ban list that bans Paradise Smasher to put the format back into any sort of balance. Like, everything else with some minor floodgates here and there is fine at the moment, but like Paradise Smasher really throws off the balance between hand traps and board breakers, which is why the first thing I want to say right now is that to me, a really good approach has felt like you want to play some hand traps because you need to be able to stop that Paradise Smasher, I think. But like a mix between board breakers and hand traps felt appropriate a lot of the times. Like, I've seen a lot of people do that in Yummy. They play like some like Imperm Purge, Charmies, and then some board breakers. That approach is pretty cool. I've seen some people do the same in Draco Tail. The thing with Draco Tail and Vanquish Soul in particular is that you are choosing your non-engine not just based off of what they do, but also what kind, like Draco Tail really wants monsters, and Vanquish Soul really wants monsters with specific attributes, so that's going to factor into the equation here a little bit. But in general, I think board breakers are pretty well positioned right now outside of Paradise Smasher, and hand traps are basically pretty solid in specific decks because they might have great synergy with attributes and so on and so forth. Let's go through the list here and let's bring up the king of non-engine right now first. I think Fuvalos is an S tier hand trap because it's one of the only hand traps that actually still hits like every deck, kind of. Like a lot of the other hand traps have like hit or miss scenarios, especially when it comes to the Charmies. Like I think Purulia is still a good hand trap, but for the most part, I think I would advise people to side deck Purulia instead of main decking it, because there's just too many decks that don't care enough about Purulia and can actually basically completely ignore it. Like Yummy or Draco Tail is often capable of just making a full board under just like one Purulia draw. I think Purulia is a great side deck card still for some decks, like Raizio Mitsurugi is still in the game. It's still solid against the Adignister version of Malice. It's still solid against Vanquish Soul with K9s together, because those all summon from the hand. K9 in general, like Purulia is pretty good at discouraging them from just like keep extending. So I think Purulia is solid there. Meowls with the lower amount of Malice representation, I think Meowls is losing a little bit of quality. I think it is fair to say that Meowls could still be considered in some decks that really want more Charmies, because it has some value against Yummy. Especially on your own turn, it can actually be pretty good against Yummy. But the problem is on your own turn, they already have a Herald, so if they really care about it, they can negate it. But Meowls is a pretty solid card against Malice and Yummy still. So you could still consider playing Meowls. And so that's how I feel about the Charmies. In general, I've seen most people play Fuvalos because it's just that good. Purulia, mostly a side deck card, and Meowls usually doesn't really see play. My next favorite hand trap in the format is Nibiru. Now, Nibiru is a card that is, just because I put it in S tier does not mean you should slap it into every single main deck. Here's a few things about Nibiru. I think Nibiru is a very strong card right now if it's being used properly, which is that you basically need to play the right deck for Nibiru, because Nibiru is a pretty high quality card against the Yummy matchup in general. That's always going to be covered. Nibiru is one of the best hand traps in most decks when you're going first. Like, for example, Draco Tail is a deck that usually makes like boards that are beatable, but when there's a Nibiru behind it, it becomes unbeatable. Against any K9 deck, Nibiru has a little bit of a caveat, which is that alone, it'll always be negated by Ripper. So you need to pair the Nibiru with something else to force the Ripper, which is why in certain decks, if you struggle with the Vanquish Soul K9 matchup, Nibiru alone is not going to fix that. Nibiru only really makes sense if you have other cards in your deck that force the Ripper. Like, for example, in Draco Tail, that would be Phimena, and other hand traps you can use to force the Ripper are like Veiler, Imperm, Ghost Ogre, so on and so forth. But this is also why, like, in some decks that don't play many other hand traps, Nibiru alone doesn't make that much sense. But if your deck has ways to force the Ripper, I think it's a really high quality card against K9. It's a very high quality card against Yummy always. And in most other matchups, you're going to find some applications. It's a pretty solid card, especially when it's paired. Ash Blossom. I still have played Ash Blossom in most decks that I have played this format. And maybe it still qualifies as an S tier hand trap, but I'm going to be honest with you. Defensively, Ash Blossom has felt very hit or miss for me. I think Ash Blossom still maybe qualifies in S tier because it's the best answer to Fuvalos, which is one of the best like cards in the format right now. But just as a hand trap, unironically, I felt like Ash was mediocre. So if you're playing a deck that doesn't care that much about Fuvalos, like, I think you could consider cutting Ash Blossom. I don't think it's that crazy. I think if your deck really cares about Fuva, then you always play Ash. And I think overall with the like, you know, I'll still put it into lower S tier because it is Ash Blossom. It's just like the quality of Ashe is not from its impact right now. It's more like from its diversity. Like it has spots against every matchup. Like even decks like Yummy, which typically play through Ash Blossom, you still take away like an Obedience Schooled or something, and that's still like the best starter out of the way. And if they don't have another starter, then you just win the game. So I think Ash Blossom just has a lot of like potential that way. So I still think it's pretty good. Yeah. So this is the stuff I wanted to get out of the way first. That's why I kind of like pulled them out ahead of the order, because those I think are like the baseline of the format. Is like Fuva, Nibiru, Ashe is what you see in a lot of decks if they choose to play hand traps. And then we have a variety of other things that you can play. Dimension Shifter, I think, is quite simple. A pretty good, it's a pretty good side deck card right now. I think main decking it is not really something you want to do. It's solid against Yummy, but not that many decks can main deck it realistically. And it's not that good against Vanquish Soul, which is why I think it's like not that great to main deck. But I think if your deck can facilitate Shifter, you should probably side deck it. It's also pretty good against Draco Tail. But the thing is, like Draco Tail, you don't necessarily have to Floodgate to win. But I mean, if you can, then nothing against it. I think Shifter still classifies as a really good card. I put it in A tier because I would advise to play it in the side deck and not in the main deck right now. That's why I think it's A tier. And the same goes for Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird, I don't think it's a main deck card right now. It's not good against Yummy. It's not good against Draco Tail. It can be okay against Vanquish Soul K9, but like not every time, not every hand is weak to it. And sometimes they can even make Ripper before even playing into the Droll. So like for example, when you go Jokul special summon, like let's say you have two Jokuls, you special two Jokuls, you don't have to search with the Jokul immediately. You can just make an Izuna, a Ripper, and search Lantern, and then special Lantern and Jokul from the graveyard, and then the Izuna, the Ripper can negate the Droll. So I think Droll is a good side deck card because people are still playing Ryzeal Mitsurugi. It's an okay card against K9 Vanquish Soul, and it's good against some other rogue decks. Like Sky Striker, for example, you can cover with Droll as well. Luna Light, it's pretty good against. So pretty solid side deck card. Wouldn't main deck it right now. That's why it goes in A tier. Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. I actually think it has some implications this format, applications this format. If you play targets in the extra deck for it, I think banishing 3 copies of Yummy Snatchy can be annoying for the Yummy deck. They have ways to play around it, but it requires them to play in a certain way. You can play it, and if your deck has extra deck space, you can even be safe from Liger Dancer, I think it's worth mentioning against Lunalight, you would probably banish the Leo Dancer instead of the Liger Dancer from their extra deck, because without the Leo Dancer, they can't summon the Liger Dancer, and then I think their entire deck is like kind of gone. So if your deck has extra deck space, you could consider it. Ripper against Vanquish Soul K9 is not a bad banish if your deck cares about Ripper, because getting rid of Ripper means they don't get the search, they can't negate your other hand traps. So if you pair Ghost Reaper with Nibiru or something, all of a sudden they have like no way to play around it anymore. They can't rank up into the Werewolf at all, so getting rid of Ripper is pretty good. So every deck right now has its weak spots to Ghost Reaper, so I think it's worth experimenting with it if your deck can facilitate it. Bestials, I think Bestials are underrated right now. I see a lot of people like not playing Bestials. I personally play Magnamut in Draco Tail at the moment, and I thought it was pretty good. Against Yummy, Bestials can actually be quite annoying. They're good against Lunalight. And Magnamut in general, specifically Magnamut, is a really high quality card. If you have search targets in it, I think like playing 1 Magna, 1 Druis is a pretty solid package still. I like the card. I think it's underrated. I think it's a little underplayed. I've had some good experience with it. Against Yummy, the main thing is not that it's like banishing a light monster from their graveyard. It's the fact that it's banishing a light monster from their graveyard while also giving you a 2500 body without actually losing a card in your hand, because it replaces itself. And then it threatens like running over Herald and stuff like that. So it baits out interaction from them as well. So I really like Magnamut against Yummy specifically. And against other decks, you're still going to find a spot here and there. Like against K9, sometimes the the Lantern tries to revive a dark monster, and then you can Magnamute that, and then they have to think about, like, do I Ripper this and walk into Nibiru, or do I not Ripper it and just let the Lantern stay in my hand? Because Lantern does have to summon the monster from the graveyard to summon itself. So if you Magnamute the target, like if it's a Jockle in the graveyard, that's a dark, and then you Magna that, and that's pretty good exchange actually if they let it go through. So I like that. Effect Veiler. I would put Effect Veiler in B tier. I don't think Effect Veiler is that good right now, with only one, like, there's only one exception basically, which is if you are trying, like, for example, there's Draco Tail variations. There's Draco Tail variations that really want Veiler to pair with Nibiru, and that also goes for all the other decks. Like, if your goal is to win going second by resolving Nibiru, I think Veiler is a viable card in any deck. Like, specifically in Draco Tail, I think this is more like an A tier card because you can recycle it with Arthalion, and Draco Tail usually plays Nibiru. So I think in that deck it's a little better. In general, if we're looking at it across all decks in the format, and we're looking at it from the perspective of you could also maybe play like a mix between hand traps and board breakers, I think Veiler is more like a B tier card. It's not that impactful right now. You know, like when your opponent summons Jockle and another level 5, if you have a Veiler in hand, it feels super bad. Against Yummy, it doesn't feel reliable. So not a huge fan of Veiler in general, but if you pair it with Nib, it slaps. Yeah. Then the Ghost Mourner. Like, this is much worse than Effect Veiler in any way. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend Ghost Mourner. Ghost Bell, on the other hand, is a card is seeing a decent amount of representation right now. Let me order this a little bit. I think Ghost Bell is fine. I played Ghost Bell in a couple of my decks, and I was a little disappointed by it in some ways. Mainly because basically the reason why you want to play Ghost Bell in this format is because you can Bell the Draco Tail trap cards, which is pretty good, and you can also Bell against Yummy to stop the Synchros from tagging out into stuff from the graveyard, which in theory are both solid things to interrupt. However, what I noticed about Bell was that a lot of the times, both of those things, first of all, if you're trying to stop a Draco Tail trap or a Yummy Synchro from tagging out, that means you've already let your opponent get very far in their combos. You basically let them play, which usually means Bell was a really good like second or third non-engine card in my hands, but when it was my only non-engine, it never felt good because like a full Yummy combo, and then you Bell one of the Synchros, it feels like nothing. So it's a very good like complementary card, I feel like, where if you already have a solid hand, Bell on top of it is pretty good. If it's your only non-engine, it's not super reliable. So I've kind of moved away from playing like triple Bell in my side decks, but I could definitely see like playing one or two somewhere just to have it as like a, you know, complementary hand trap or whatever else you have. I think it's fine. And the same is kind of true for Ghost Ogre. I think Ghost Ogre is a little bit worse than Bell in some ways, but better in others. For example, Ghost Ogre is a more consistent pairing with Nibiru because Ghost Ogre forces Ripper. Like they go Ripper effect to search, you Ghost Ogre it, you can Nibiru them after. That is something that Bell cannot do, but in most other cases, Bell is probably higher impact than Ghost Ogre. But like, yes, you can Ghost Ogre the Yummy Field spell to try and stop them from extending maybe, but usually all they need is any one Yummy card or whatever to keep playing, so it's not that great. But it has applications, you know. And if your Vanquish Soul opponent does not open with the K9 cards, then Ghost Ogre on Vanquish Soul start is pretty good. Ghost Ogre is a solid answer to K9 Lupus when they try to exceed with it, because you destroy it and then it gets banished, which is nice because it's gone for the rest of the game. So Ghost Ogre has some randomly pretty solid applications. But both Bell and Ghost Ogre, I would never feel safe if those were my only non-engines in my hand. That's why I'm putting them a little lower. So yeah. Ogre on Nash Knight is pretty solid. It has applications. Definitely. Retaliating Sea. Retaliating Sea, I'm putting into B tier. Because it is basically a side deck only card, and I think it's just a matter of this card is really good against, I think, 2 decks in the format right now, which is Draco Tail and Lunalight. Those 2 decks, Retaliating Sea is pretty good against. However, those, I'm not sure if it's worth side decking specifically for those 2 decks. But if you want to, then Retaliating Sea is a very good card. The problem with the Draco Tail matchup too is like you never know exactly what way to fuse they play, right? If it's Poly, then it's really good. If they start with 5 mana or they start with Cartesia, then can't use it. I don't know. Also Yummy if they Obedience or Drones. I guess that's an interesting question, right? If you play against Yummy, do you put in Retaliating Sea because they could be starting with Obedience Schooled or Hornet Drones, because then the card becomes pretty good suddenly against Yummy? I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. Like that is a decent chunk of their starters, but then like you have a Retaliating Sea in your hand and they start normal summon Cupsea and it's like I don't know. Maybe it's good enough though. Maybe it's good enough. If I would have to test that, but if it is also good against Yummy, then I would up it a notch. Yeah, then I would think it has a little bit more value. Imperm is a pretty high value card. I'm not putting it in S tier because in general those one-on-one hand traps are not that amazing right now, but I think Imperm is the best one out of the quote-unquote fair hand traps, like the one-on-one negations, simply because it's a trap card. It does not turn on Izuna and it cannot be negated by Ripper. I think that is very high value. The only downside for Imperm in some decks is that it does not work with, you know, it's not a monster, so Draco Tail works a little worse with it, and it's not an attribute, so Vanquish Soul is a little worse with it, and it requires you to have an open field, so it pairs poorly with some other cards that like basically a couple of decks try to play on turn 0 right now, so Imperm like doesn't work if you Izuna first or Phantasme first or Magnamood first or Impulse, like Rescue Ace Impulse first or any of that, or Phimena, right? Like all of those cards kind of clash with Imperm. Other than that, in every deck that doesn't play those cards, like Yummy, for example, I think Imperm is very strong in Yummy, especially because that deck also plays Dominus Purge. Which brings us to the Dominus cards. Dominus Impulse, Dominus Purge, and by extension also Songs of the Dominators are in basically the same position that they've always been. If your deck can play them, you play them. Specifically, Purge is very strong right now because Yummy can play it. Dominus Impulse is, here's the thing, right? Do I put Dominus Impulse in B tier just because there's not that many decks that can play it right now? Because I think in general, like, the card is still very strong. Like, if your deck can play it, like Pure Mitsurugi or whatever, or Lunalight, they probably play them somewhere, and it's really good. So I'm still inclined to put Dominus Impulse in A tier, just because every deck that can play it should play it. Yeah, really good hand trap. Even Songs of the Dominators. Now, I will say, I personally haven't played with this card yet, but in theory, I like it a lot. I really like the pairing of Imperm, Purge, and Songs in Yummy so that you can play 9 hand traps without triggering Izuna with a single one of them, right? I think that's kind of nice. I still have to try that version because you are skipping on some other hand traps. Like, for example, Songs has negative synergy with Fuvalos, which is kind of bad because if you use Fuva, you can't use Songs from your hand. So that's that. It can get ashed, which means that your opponent just has inherent answers to it. But I still think it's a pretty good card. I kind of like it. Yeah. DD Crow and Skullmeister, I think, are too low impact in general. They hit these decks too late and too little, in my opinion. They're not like terrible cards, but they just don't really. Yeah, the Crow, Skullmeister, Mourner type cards, I'm not putting them in the lowest tier because they're not like awful cards where I'm like, I don't know, I'm looking at my opponent, I'm like, what are you doing? Like if someone has a specific reason or like a specific scenario where they want these cards, then I could see it. but I personally don't think they're good enough. Is how I feel about it. Izuna. And Izuna as a hand trap, I think at the moment is like an A tier card for a couple. Honestly, I was expecting more out of Izuna when I played it for the first time. It is a good hand trap, don't get me wrong, but it is not as broken as people made it out to be. It's completely dead against Yami usually. I guess sometimes against Yami when they play Ash, Fuva, and stuff like that, you can argue like the Izuna actually helps you to push when you're going first or when you're playing into the board. You know, some Yummies are playing cards like Effect Veiler, so the Izuna just becomes an extender. But when you're looking at just the quality of a hand trap Izuna, I mean, against Yami, it does nothing. Against Vanquish Soul, I think it's pretty good. Against Draco Tail, it's pretty good. It does come with some heavy like attachments though, right? You have to fit the Lupus in the extra deck, which is usually a pretty poor draw. And you also have to fit some stuff in the extra deck, which is going to be difficult for some decks. Most decks can make it happen, but yeah, if Yami wasn't a thing, then I think Izuna would be an S tier card right now. Between having to make extra deck space, having to play Lupus, and it being dead against Yami, I think Izuna overall is like an A tier card. I think playing it is fine. I think not playing it is also fine if you don't want to make those sacrifices though. So now we're getting into the territory of some less traditional hand traps. Phantasme, in my opinion, right now is I've loved Phantasme in all of the decks that tried to play on turn 0, namely Draco Tail and Vanquish Soul. I think Phantasme is an awesome card. You don't always necessarily have to main deck it, but I've really liked it as a side deck card. I think it's been awesome for me against Yami. I think it's very, very strong. And in a lot of other matchups, you will also find good spots for it. And the same goes for Rescue Ace Impulse. I liked these cards in particular because I felt like one of my main win conditions in certain matchups like involved specific cards that I couldn't play more copies of, basically. So what I'm trying to say by this is when I played Vanquish Soul, some of my very key win conditions in certain matchups was drawing Nibiru or drawing Holisu. When I played Draco Tail, some of my win conditions included specifically drawing 5 mana or specifically drawing Nibiru once again. And I can't play more copies of 5 mana. I can't play more copies of Nibiru. That's where Phantasme and Rescue Ace Impulse and also Perulia to an extent come in, because they just give you that slightly higher chance of drawing Nibiru, of drawing Izuna maybe, or drawing Holisu, like the really high quality hand traps for certain matchups. And I really like this in this format. And as a bonus, both Phantasme and Rescue Ace Impulse are really good against Yami because they summon bodies, right? Like they summon bodies that threaten to attack over Herald, that threaten to attack over other stuff like the Synchros without them being able to tag out. So I was very happy with the approach of just like summoning big bodies and then attacking the Yami monsters right away before triggering their Synchros. I thought that was a good approach. So I really like those. They are dependent on the deck. Like if your deck doesn't have turn 0 plays, like Izuna, Holisu, 5 mana, I think they lose a lot of value and I wouldn't play them. Like in Yami, for example, I think these cards have no real place. But in some other decks, I like them a lot. Chaos Hunter is basically it's not a good card anymore because there's not enough malice for it. That's all there is to it. Lancia, however, is still a pretty good side deck card. I've been foregoing it in some of my decks because I didn't see enough malice. The thing is that's worth noting about Lancia, maybe it's low A tier still, but because it does have applications in some other matchups too, right? Like you can side deck Lancia against Crystron, you can side deck Lancia against Lunalight, and it's pretty good. And I think overall that makes it flexible enough to consider it, but not like mandatory, right? It does have some applications in K9 decks because you can potentially loop it because it is a level 5. You can add it back from your graveyard. No, you can summon it from the grave, I think, with the Imperial Princess Kunkuri, I think is what it's called. So like, yeah, it has some additional applications. And yeah, I like that. So that's the hand traps. But I've decided in recent iterations of this video, I've been combining hand traps with board breakers and non-engine in general. let's talk about some other cards. Called by the Grave, I think right now is a pretty solid card, but I don't know if I would main deck it because going second, it'll do nothing, and going first, it's still like... Called by the Grave is a weird card because against some matchups, it actually doesn't stop some of the most important things. It doesn't do anything to Holy Sue, but it does stop Izuna. It does stop Phimena. So in a lot of matchups, it's a really strong card to side deck for going first. In some matchups, it's even fine going second, which, like, you know, Herald of the Arclight, Phimena against Draco Tail, if they set that up. Draco Tail, K9 decks will also set up like a Izuna into Lupus usually for your turn. The thing is, though, like, are you really winning off of that Called by the Grave? I feel like you need other non-engine beforehand to make the game playable, and then Called by can do the work. But it's still a pretty solid card. I think I would put it like somewhere here, all things considered overall. And the same thing, that's roughly also where I would put Talons. I think Talons is a really strong card right now. Unless you get Paradise Smasher going second. I liked Talons against Yummy even going second, because you like bait the Herald and then you just Talons for more cards, or you Talons to steal, and that can be inconvenient for them. I've been a fan of Talons for that matchup in general for going first. The problem is that, like, some matchups, specifically Yummy going first, Talons might never be live if they play Imperm, Purge, Impulse, and maybe like if they decide to charm you in draw phase to play around it. But in general, I think Talents is a pretty solid card in decks that play high engine. Like, for example, in my Vanquish Soul deck, where I played a lot of just engine, like big K9 stuff, I thought it was good to play into boards, and then they interrupt you, and then you Talents to try to draw more cards and extra attributes. I think that's nice. Crossout, as broken of a Yu-Gi-Oh card as it is, I think it is relatively... Valor should be next to Bell and Ghost Ogre, I think. Crossout is mediocre right now, simply because there's a lot of cards that your opponent will throw at you that you probably don't play. If you play against Draco Tail and they Phimena you, and you don't play Draco Tail yourself, you don't have it for Crossout. If you play against Vanquish Soul and they have Holy Sue and you don't play Vanquish Soul, you don't have Holy Sue for Crossout. So that's tough. Basically, I think it's only very specifically for, like, if you really care about Ash, if you really care about Nib, and you play those cards yourself, then you can play Crossout. If you really care about Fuva, I guess you could do it too. However, that means you have to have a Fuva in your deck when you're going first, which I'm never really a big fan of that. But like, I think Crossout overall is kind of poorly positioned, because there's a lot of non-engine that, like, only some decks play. Like, for example, Purge as well. Like, Yummy is going to play Purge. You're not going to have Purge for Crossout unless you play Yummy yourself. So it's kind of weird in that case. Board breakers in general. Feather Duster, Lightning Storm are solid cards right now, I think. In this case, it basically depends on what your goal with your deck is. Like, for example, if you're playing Draco Tail and you play a lot of hand traps, then I wouldn't advise you to play Lightning Storm or Duster, because it doesn't really make sense to try and hand trap your opponent a bunch and then just Lightning Storm what's left. But if you are playing more of like... let's say you're playing Yummy, and your goal is to basically play like Imperm, Purge, and Songs of the Dominators, with the main goal being just, I'm trying to stop Paradise Smasher. And then after that, I don't really care what board they make, because I'm playing board breakers. In that style of deck, I think Lightning Storm is a very high quality card. So the quality of Lightning Storm really differs in what is your goal with your deck, right? The way you build your deck basically dictates how good Lightning Storm is. I think on average it's a pretty solid card, so I'm gonna put it in low 8 tier. But just understand that in some decks this is a lot better, and in other decks it's a lot worse. Fenrir. I think Fenrir is a pretty solid card. I've been liking it. I think side decking it in Draco Tail is pretty valid. I thought it was a pretty solid option. I will say going second, I found it a little, it clashed a little bit with some of the stuff I was trying to do. Like, for example, in theory, it's a really good card against Yummy, because it's just a big body that can banish some of their resources, which will make it hard for them to come back. Which is nice. Really good card, but it clashes with Nibiru, it clashes with Izuna, it clashes with Phantasme, it clashes with Veshkue's Impulse, clashes with Bystials when you're going second. All that is kind of awkward. But for going first, I thought it was a phenomenal side deck card. And if you don't play many of these other cards, then I think it's also a pretty good card for going second. So I think Fenrir is strong overall. Pankratops. At first, I thought Pankratops was not going to be that great. The more I've played with it, the more I've liked it. I don't think it's a side deck staple, but I think it's pretty good in decks that really care about Herald of the Arclight. Like, for example, in Draco Tail, I think it's a pretty solid card against Yummy because it's a monster. You can fuse with it. You can add it back from the graveyard. You can just summon it. You contribute it. Pop the Herald of the Arclight. It's gone. You can now play your Draco Tail deck, and you should be fine against Yummy with that. So I think it's a pretty cookie cutter card. And I felt like it was nice to have a card in my deck that also happens to be an out to certain floodgates. Like if Yummy has a rivalry or something like that, if you start with like special summon Pankratops, you have an answer to that too, which I think is cool. So I've been liking that. Metaltronus. Metaltronus is a card that I haven't personally tried myself yet, but I heard a lot of other players say a lot of really good things about it. This card is apparently pretty good in the Yummy mirror, of course, because you can just like negate and banish a Snatchy or one of the Synchros or whatever. Or like, rather, you don't even have to banish with it. You can also just like use it as a way to negate their Snatchy and summon like an extender for yourself, basically. You don't banish, you just keep it. Like negate Arclight and get a body from it. Like that's pretty good in the Yummy mirror. I've seen people do it in other decks as well. In other decks, I'm not quite as convinced by it. But I think in the Yummy mirror, it's a pretty good card. So I think it goes into A tier if you're playing Yummy for the mirror match. And that's the thing, right? It seems like a very specific card for Yummy. I don't know if it's that good to play against VSK9 or Draco Tail. Like, sure, I guess negating an Arthalion is pretty good, but I'm not sure if I would do that. But it's pretty good for Yummy if you want to play something specifically for the mirror. Forbidden Chalice and Forbidden Droplet by extension. I've seen people talk about both of these and play both of these because there's a lot of decks that play on turn 0. You know, like if you go first and your opponent goes Holy Sue, activate effect of Holy Sue, and you go Chalice or Droplet, that's pretty nice. Your opponent goes Izuna, and you really are annoyed by that Izuna, you just Chalice it, and that's pretty neat. So I think both of these cards have their merits. I think Forbidden Droplet is a significantly higher quality card when you're going second, though. Like, that's why I think Droplet is higher than Chalice. I think Chalice is more like a gimmicky card, but it can answer a Herald of the Arclight. That's a good point. Droplet is not that good against Herald of the Arclight. You can still negate Herald of the Arclight because Herald of the Arclight only says monsters, I believe. So you can still send a spell card with it. So like Chalice, send one spell to just get rid of the Arclight. It is a -1, but it works. Chalice can be used in damage step against Yummy, which is also a good point. Yes, I think Chalice, that's why, I mean, B tier, none of these cards in B tier are bad. Like I talked about this, all of these cards I think are more like experimental, but they are viable. Like I think all of these cards are kind of viable against the current format. Cosmic Cyclone, I'll put it into C tier. However, I will say, I think specifically against Yummy, I found that banishing their field spell, or maybe even both field spells, was a pretty solid win condition for me. Because especially if you banished the minion field spell, I found that like it was really hard for them to actually get over bigger monsters, because it's the only way they can really like make big stuff is that. So I've had some games where I would like prioritize summoning SP Little Knight to banish the minion field spell, and then that was a win condition. And so I think Cosmic Cyclone maybe has more merit than it seems like. It's just that the reason I haven't really considered it at all is that Draco Tail and Vanquish Soul don't really want to play it, right? Because they want monsters as their non-engine for the most part, but yeah, I think Cosmic maybe is better than it seems, because it would be nice to have a card in your side deck that also happens to handle like the floodgates, right? That would be kind of cool. But I just wouldn't advise playing it in Vanquish Soul or Draco Tail. But in other decks, maybe you could. I'm bumping it up to B tier. It seems okay. Book of Eclipse is a pretty good board breaker right now. Of course, against Yummy, all it does is force the Herald of the Arclight. But if they already used it on something else, then you can Book of Eclipse, and that's kind of annoying for them because they can't really synchro anymore. They have to use Surprise. So if you can like, sometimes the way to go is like bait the Surprise first if you can, and then bait and force the Herald and then Eclipse, and then you're good to go. Pretty good card. It also doubles as a pretty good non-engine going first. Sometimes if you get Veilered or you get Impermed, I think it's neat. Yeah. Impulse is a specifically good non-engine in Vanquish Soul. Yes, I've only been playing it in Vanquish Soul so far. I guess maybe S tier. S tier is maybe me being blindsided by how much I like drawing cards. I guess it's only S tier in Vanquish Soul, but I really liked it in Vanquish Soul. Maybe it's more like, maybe it goes more like next to like Purge, because Purge and Impulse, Indominus Impulse, because it's more like if your deck can play it, then you should play it. I think it's also viable in Draco Tail though. I haven't tried it in Draco Tail, but I think in Draco Tail it makes a lot of sense because you just have a higher chance of drawing your 5 mana. And then you also just have a beat stick that can force out the head, maybe out the Herald against Yummy. I think that's pretty neat. But yeah, I'll bump down the Impulse because it's not good in every deck. Enemy Controller I think is pretty mediocre right now. I guess you could steal a Lupus going first with it if your opponent is trying to do some shenanigans with it, but it's not that great. Ra's Fear Mode, in theory, would be a solid board breaker. In general, stuff that tributes your opponent's cards, I think, are more like here. I think Sphere Mode is like the only one that I would think has high enough impact against the current decks. But at the same time, if you Sphere Mode a Vanquish Soul K9 board, they still have the Vanquish Soul Trap. They still have Azuna in hand. They still have all of the Vanquish Soul stuff in hand, so it's not that good. And most decks just can't facilitate playing without a normal summon right now, so I wouldn't recommend Sphere Mode. I think like a Kaiju is like... I think Kaijus actually have a merit, so hear me out, and Kurikara too. So these two, I think, are specifically viable because they are monster non-engine that you can use to have an out to... For example, I think in Draco Tail, you could consider this because it is an out to Herald, but it also gives you an answer to the Lunalight Liger Dancer, which I think is a kind of a neat, like... I guess Kurikara doesn't out Herald, so Kurikara is worse. But like, I think a Kaiju... I think a Kaiju is like not the worst idea in Draco Tail. I think that's viable. Mind Control, Change of Heart, probably around B tier. I think those cards are solid against Vanquish Soul K9 if they go for like you can like steal the Masquerade or steal like the Nash Knight or something, and that can be pretty annoying for them. I don't know. I'm not convinced by these probably go down here. Not convinced by that. Super Poly. Super Poly is pretty good. I think Super Poly is really nice. I think the only downside is once again Paradise Smasher. Like I think if Paradise Smasher wasn't the thing, I think you could wholeheartedly play like a board breaker approach with like Super Poly, Droplet, Dark Ruler, Thrust. I think those cards are all pretty solid right now. If it wasn't for like Eclipse, like there's a lot of really good board breakers. I think Super Poly, now that Vanquish Soul usually makes some rank 5s, I think there is a couple of good targets for it. Like for example, if they go for the Masquerade, you can fuse the Masquerade and the Rock, which I think is pretty solid. I think Super Poly is all right. Against Yummy, it's really good because you hit the Herald and like the Snatchy. And that basically means they have to use Yummy Surprise to revive a Snatchy again, depending on the end board they make. Or you like Super Poly. You can Super Poly the Snatchy and the Synchro Monster and then attack over the Herald. Like that's a pretty good use of Super Poly. Card is good. Card is very nice. Raigeki is solid too. I don't hate it. Once again, I think Paradise Smasher makes it so you don't want to play full breakers, and that means Raigeki probably doesn't make the cut, because cards like Super Poly, Droplet, like Super Poly, Droplet, Eclipse, and Metaltronus to an extent also have the nice little bonus that they're good going first. And Raigeki doesn't really have that unless your opponent plays on your turn 0, but then you still don't like prevent their effects, right? Like if I have a Droplet, for example, I can prevent the Izuna from actually doing anything, whereas with Raigeki, I have to let him make the thing and then I Raigeki it. Thrust, really good card, similar to the other breakers. Not an S tier card in the format, but like being able to, specifically in like Yummy with like Songs of the Dominators, Imperm, Impurge, like being able to set those when you go first and then grab like cards like Obedience School when you go second, I think is really nice. Yeah, once again, I think the best quality breakers in this current format are the ones that you can use going first and going second. That's why I think Thrust, Super Poly, Eclipse, and Droplet are like the best ones. Evenly, basically same reasoning. Evenly, I think, is a good card, but it is very restricted for going second. And against a lot of the the K9 Vanquish Soul deck, you can resolve evenly against it, and it will take away a chunk of their resources. But they usually just keep the Vanquish Soul trap and then have like a hand of 6 cards, and you are in main phase 2. Like that's really weird. K9 Crystron has negates for it. Yummy has negates for it. So like wasting your battle phase, especially against Yummy, is pretty rough because you really want to be able to attack those Yummy monsters with your bigger monsters so they can't like tag out and stuff. So I don't like evenly against Yummy. Book of Moon, too low impact. Always probably play Book of Eclipse over it. Dark Ruler, pretty strong card. I think Dark Ruler is basically a better version of Evenly Matched right now because it doesn't take your battle phase. It's still, Vanquish Soul still has the trap left, but still it's better against Yummy because they can't negate it with Herald. It's a very good card against Yummy. And a solid card against Vanquish Soul K9 too. The only reason why I'm not putting it higher next to the other ones is, like I said earlier, it doesn't work going first. So I think that's the downside for it. Ultimate Slayer, I like Ultimate Slayer. I think it's fine. It does it work against Herald? How is Herald worded? Does it say extra deck 2? Or is it just monsters sent from hand or deck? I think it's hand or deck, right? It does work against Herald. Yeah, it's like I think Herald says main deck and hand. So Ultimate Slayer, solid card against Yummy. It obviously just outs less cards than Dark Ruler, but still you can go for game. It does require some extra deck space, but it's definitely a viable card right now. I think if you are going for a board breaker approach post side deck, then I think Ultimate Slayer is pretty good. And keep in mind, all of this is before Doom of Dimensions. We are going to, and I'm sorry that this is like slightly late to the party. I feel like in general, I'm a little bit late to the Justice Hunters party because I've been focused on Master Duel a lot. I will be able to catch up soon, hopefully, because we are taking care of looking into Doom of Dimension on stream soon because that format is like 2 weeks away from now. The thing is, the reason why I'm still doing this discussion right now is because a lot of this doesn't change that much with Doom of Dimensions. Like a lot of the things that I just said still apply post Doom of Dimensions because Yummy, Vanquish Soul K9, Draco Tail, like all those decks still remain viable after a Doom of Dimensions. One of the things that I can already tell you that's going to change is like Cosmic Cyclone. Like the thing I mentioned about banishing the Yummy field spell, that's going to be a lot different because the Marshmallow can recover Yummy field spells from the banished pile. So like banishing the field spell is no longer the win condition that I mentioned earlier. But other than that, a lot of the things are still going to remain the same. The only thing that could really throw this entire thing off balance is if they release a ban list that bans Paradise Smasher. Because if you will notice that I didn't put board breakers into S tier. It's mostly like hand traps. I think board breakers suffer from Paradise Smasher a lot right now in the format. If Paradise Smasher wasn't in the format, I think we would be easily looking at cards like Droplet, Super Poly, Thrust in S tier. But Paradise Smasher is a thing, so you kind of have to hand trap your opponent and then board breaker their half board. But yeah. that's it for the non-engine discussion for the current format. I hope it was helpful. If you watched it on YouTube, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It would help me out a lot. And give me some feedback. How have you been experiencing this non-engine in the current format? And what do you think is going to change with Doom of Dimensions? Because that's obviously the thing that's going to be most important in regards to YCS Lille, also YCS Anaheim for all the NA people. Like I said, we're going to look into that format soon as well. I have content lined up for that. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you next time, Duelists. Bye-bye. All right. Now, y'all, unfortunately, I also have to call it a day now from the stream because I have a T2 Trials Master Duel match in less than 15 minutes. So if you guys want to watch the match, I'm not going to stream my perspective because it's a 3v3 tournament. And I don't want my team to be impacted by the fact that I'm streaming it. So if you want to see the match, I'm gonna raid Nesh. I hope Nesh is live yet. Is Nesh live already? Let me see. I don't think Nesh is live yet. No. All right, well, I guess I was gonna raid Nesh because Nesh is going to commentate the what's it called? The tournament. So if you want to see the match, just head over to Nesh's channel right now, and I'm gonna be playing there in like 15 minutes. You can raid offline channels. Wait, you can? I can't select them from the list though. I don't know, you guys. Just keep an eye out for the Master Duel category and for Nesh's stream if you want to see the match. Without further ado, there's no stream tomorrow because I'm playing a regional, but I am going to be live on Sunday. We have some Master Duel action lined up on Sunday, actually. There's a Challenger Cup happening. So the EU versus Asia Challenger Cup. So we actually are going to stream some Master Duel this week as well on Sunday. No stream tomorrow because I'm playing a regional, so wish me luck for the regional. I'm trying to finally get some points. I'm trying to get on the board in the world's points race. So I'll be playing a regional tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes, of course. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you guys on Sunday.